great afternoon's work for you personally and the team. That must feel like a really big 3 points.
Yeah, for sure. We knew it was going to be difficult, to get back to winning ways after our recent form. So, of course, tough game, and happy that we win, first of all, and happy to be on the score sheet as well.
Yeah, take us through that first half. Was it a case of feeling your way through it, picking your moments and really being patient for that opportunity when it would come?
Yeah, I think when you're going through like tough times as a team, it's about fighting your way through to a victory, which it was today. We had to. It was not always beautiful, but we knew we had to get a goal and then defend our goal with our lives, and I think the boys did really well.
Yeah, the goal came thanks to you. Does it feel like a weight off your shoulders, that first Premier League goal now?
Yeah, of course. I'm aware that it's been a long time coming, and I've been trying to get back to my best form, and I'm still on the way, but I'm happy to have that goal.
Is it something that has been weighing on you, and do you feel almost a release now that could be you up and running, that you have one on the board?
I think it's a mix. Of course, the best feeling today is that we win the game. That's the best way to get a good spirit within the group, and that's helpful for the individual as well. But yeah, of course, I'm a striker, so scoring goals will always help me.
How much belief do you think as a side then you can take from this, and what does it do for the direction of travel now for this team in a big week?
Yeah, I think we have to use this win in a good way, but also be humble, because we've had a tough time. So one win doesn't necessarily mean that we're back. We have to stay focused and keep working hard to keep this momentum.
All right, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We're going to persevere, aren't we?
Yeah.
Fingers crossed, everybody. Look, the red card, Enzo Maresca said he didn't have a problem with it. He had more a problem with consistency on previous decisions. But when you look at the Caicedo challenge, what are you looking at?
I'm looking at the angle he challenges at as well, and also just understanding why he's going in for the challenge initially anyway. So, we just want to run it on. I just want to highlight where the two players are initially now. So, if we just stop it now. And we're looking at the two players, Caicedo and Moreno. Caicedo doesn't see him. Yeah, he doesn't. All he's focused on, really, is that, and rightly so. As you run it on now, I just don't know why he gets involved. He's got his mate coming out as well at centre-back.
So Chalobah would have Moreno covered there.
Yes, he's stepping out there. But this happens a lot with Caicedo. Listen, he's brilliant. He's fantastic. Brilliant at winning the ball back. But he ends up in some really strange positions when he's making tackles. Now, he ends up with a situation now as he comes across, and I'm not just talking about the nature of the tackle, but he's actually now facing his own goal to make a tackle against Moreno. Now, forget the colours of the shirts. If we just put everybody in a black shirt, you'd think Caicedo's team were attacking that way.
Yeah, he would, yeah.
But that again comes from the angle. He doesn't need to get involved in that tackle. Chalobah stepped out with him. His man were there, but again, he's got this sort of
He was pumped up today, wasn't he?
He was really pumped up. I think we saw that right from the start of the game. I think the whole talk this week of, Rice v Caicedo, understandably so, maybe got to him a little bit. It's a huge game. And he's ended up getting himself involved in a challenge. Yes, it's a red card. But where he comes from, the angle of the challenge is just daft to get involved in a tackle like that. He doesn't need to. We've looked at it again. It's just above the ankle. And when you see the ankle buckle a little bit, I think that's always a sort of a real giveaway for VAR to make sure that they give the red card.
It's his first red card for Chelsea. He is actually going to be suspended for the first game of the World Cup next year because he got 2 yellows in the qualifier, unless he gets a visit to the White House, and then maybe that might change for the opening game of the World Cup, who knows. But when you look at him domestically, he makes more fouls to tackles than most other players in the Premier League. Now, is that youth and all-action style and something that may change?
I hope it changes. Yeah, because listen, he's a brilliant player. He wins the ball back fantastically well. But I think he does have a tendency, and I'm quite surprised, really. It's only you mentioned his first red card. I remember a challenge, I think, in the Carabao Cup final in Gravenberch a couple of years ago as well. And I don't think it's because he's so much a nasty player. I think at times he can look clumsy, and some of the angles he comes in with the challenge, and that was a case in point, really, where he ends up facing his own goal to win a challenge when basically he's got someone else coming behind him and he just doesn't need to get involved. So you just got to be careful with that. But as I said, he's a fantastic player, but he definitely needs to learn from that. And I'm sure the manager, if he's come out and said it was, a definite red card, that's really good to hear, and I'm sure he'll speak to him.
It's not often, is it, at the moment, when we analyse set pieces in a game involving Arsenal, that they're on the receiving end of it, and we're going to look at the first goal that Chelsea scored, the only goal that Chelsea scored, which is Trevor Chalobah from this corner.
Yeah, and as I said, we don't talk about Arsenal so much. It was something we highlighted last season, actually, that they had a little bit of a problem defending set pieces, not so much scoring, as we know. But Chalobah, who I actually think has been outstanding for Chelsea this season, I speak at times about maybe a lack of a top centre-back, but he's been excellent this season. He's involved with Timber there as well. And it feels like a lot of the Arsenal players are actually more concerned with stopping a man than actually going to win the ball. I think Timber's the same, and I think Mosquera here at the back post, he seems obsessed with Enzo, rather than just trying to head the ball out. He is on the line at the back post. But what I would say is I think Chelsea deserve that. And what was really interesting in the game is Chelsea have got really good experience, unfortunately, of going down to 10 men. But we've been critical this season of how Maresca's gone about it, going with 10 men. We mentioned going to a back five, I think, at Manchester United. I think certain substitutions at home to Brighton as well. But in this one, they still had a threat going forward, in even later in the game as well.
And his substitutions were like for like as well, weren't they? I mean, Garnacho for Esteval, Delap came on for João Pedro. So as you say, it's not like they retreated. They tried to stay on the front foot.
Yeah, as I said, if you go through Maresca's time at Chelsea, you think of the Club World Cup as well, maybe the end of last season as well, and there was a couple of red cards for Jackson. They've never really got positive results. We all know it's tough, but you shouldn't get beat every time you go down to 10 men. And today's a case in point. They're playing against the best team in the country, and they've got a 1-1 draw, and it was fully deserved.
As far as the equaliser that they conceded?
Yeah, I think he'll be disappointed with this, and the reason being why is, if you're going to lose a goal when the opposition have got the extra man, you want it to be for that reason, that they've got the extra man. And it wasn't really the case, because football is a numbers game. And when we look at the situation now, when the ball comes in the box eventually, you'd expect this, Arsenal to have decent possession, build up into the attacking third, but this is where it changes. And I just want to highlight this battle here. So what you've got is, you've got Fofana, Moreno.
Yeah.
Okay? So he's the goal scorer. Fofana's up against him now. I just want to roll it on very slowly. And as the ball comes to Saka, obviously we know does well with the ball, but if I just stop it now, yes, Arsenal have got an extra player, but Arsenal have got 6 players in this picture.
Yeah.
Chelsea have got 9, including the goalkeeper. So this has nothing to do with
being
Arsenal.
overloaded.
No,
yeah.
It's not. So I think when Maresca looks back at this and the Chelsea defenders look back at this, I think they'll be really disappointed to concede a goal in this situation, because what you end up getting is this.
It worked.
It worked. We got there.
We got.
But what you've got is a 3v3.
Yeah.
That's going to happen 11v11. So I think he'd be disappointed that they've conceded this goal like this. But Saka, who just gets the better of Cucurella, which was something Yamal couldn't do in the week. But Moreno, listen, what a role he plays in this team. It's absolutely fantastic, isn't it, the role that he plays? A goal scorer, a box crasher, if you like. He's always in there with his head. Does really well. And you just, from there, you think Arsenal are going to go on and win the game, because as we've seen there, as the ball goes in, Moreno runs and gets the ball. He's trying to get the kick off quickly because they want to go on and win the game.
It's also that. It's also for a man who isn't a natural centre forward. It's the movement to pull off Fofana, and those natural centre forwards always would tell me, as soon as you can see your opponent's number, you know you've got them.
Well, it's really interesting, and I've said this before, but not about him. I've said this before about Havertz. I actually have always thought if Havertz was fully fit, he'd be the centre forward in this team, maybe not Gyökeres. Gyökeres came on today and was probably disappointed he didn't get the winner. I think Timber took one right off his head at the end. It'd be really interesting how long it takes before Mikel Arteta puts him fully back into the team, or whether he sticks with Moreno in that position, because he's been absolutely outstanding with when Gyökeres has been out.
I mean, they had a really interesting discussion in the studio after that, Theo and Daniel Sturridge, about whether that is Arsenal missing an opportunity. So on the one hand, they've got a point away in a London derby against a side who will be there or thereabouts, but they were down to 10 men. So which side of the fence would you fall on there?
I wouldn't say Arsenal were sort of negative, and that's been something thrown at Mikel Arteta over the last few years when they've been going for the title. I mean, you look at the substitutions he made, Miles Lewis-Skelly coming on at half-time. I know Calafiori was on a yellow card, but again, he's going into midfield. Odegaard comes on, Gyökeres comes on. They threw everything at it. But I just felt as the game was getting to sort of the last 5 or 6 minutes, Chelsea was still a threat. So as a manager, if they'd have lost that wouldn't have just been losing a point. Psychologically, to lose against 10 men in a London derby, I think would have been a big blow. You've seen the Arsenal players at the end of the game. They looked a little bit deflated, but it's not a bad point. And I think it's not so much about giving criticism to Arsenal for not going on to win the game. I think we should credit Chelsea, who thought were outstanding with 10 men.
For 59 seconds, fastest Premier League goal we've seen so far this season, and the fastest Premier League goal at the Etihad from City since September 2019. Listen, it's games like this, Dorset, if you're going to be part of the title race, you simply have to win. They moved to within 4 points of Arsenal, but that could be 9 points tomorrow if Arsenal beat Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. But they were far from convincing, City, today, particularly second half. Anything but convincing. First half was too easy. And I think that's what sometimes can happen. You can come lackadaisical, it's slow passing. I think I said to you in the first half, I was pretty bored. They got off to such a quick start. Great play down the left-hand side. Silva lends Núñez in, pulls it back to Foden, and the ball's high and it gets his leg up. Good contact, hits the bar and go in. You think, here we go. It's going to be goal after goal. And it was just slow. Leeds were too passive. They didn't get anywhere near the levels that you have to be at to play against Manchester City away from home. However, second half, Leeds turned up the gear, and Manchester City struggled to cope with that. And at one point, the game was in a balance. I had no idea which way it was going to go. I would have probably edged towards Leeds. But what they did when they were under pressure, game management, which I talked about, Donnarumma goes down and stops that stem of one-way attacking from Leeds. I don't really like that, but it's game management. Pep tweaked it a little bit, got his team back into shape, and then at the end, anything can happen. And that little bit of quality from Phil Foden, I thought it was exceptional today. Everything positive that Manchester City did came through. He was getting on the ball, he was trying to create, he was running forward, and he got his goal. His last goal late on, it needed that little bit of magic because Leeds were defending for their lives. Everyone behind the ball, takes it across his body. He's wanting to get the shot away and takes an extra touch and puts it past Lucas Perry. Job done, not convincing in the slightest. And one job that Leeds United definitely got done today was keeping Erling Haaland quiet. I mean, one shot in the entire game, and that came in the 88th minute. How do they keep him so quiet today? Well, he must have felt sorry for Leeds. He must think, I was born in Leeds. I was a Leeds fan as a young kid. I used to have Eric Backer on my shirt, and he just didn't look interested. I was so surprised. I expect him to turn up here after the last two performances and results and go, do you know what, I'm going to show everyone how good I am. When you say he didn't look interested, what, body language, the runs he was making? Running, his runs in behind. He had one attempt late on when the ball's coming from Jeremy Doku and Struijk holds him well, he gets ahead. But he just looked, he didn't get an awful lot of service, don't get me wrong, and that can sometimes happen with Haaland. But today he certainly wasn't at the races. Let's talk about Leeds United, Dors. He talks about, in that interview we just heard from Daniel Farke, how united they are, how tight they are as a team. Did you see evidence of that, particularly in the second half, the way they fought back? Most definitely. And he's touched on there saying he was proud of his team, and he should be. He really, really should. I thought they were unfortunate not to get a point out of the game or even win it in the second half. I mean, he made big calls at half-time, taking his two wide players off in Willie Gnonto and Dan James, went to a back three, brought Puyol and Dominic Calvert-Lewin in, and went a little bit more direct and went, can you deal with this Manchester City, you defenders? And they couldn't. For large periods of that second half, when they played to the strengths, from Lucas Perry going more direct, Puyol putting the ball up and playing balls into
Jayden Bogle, who was playing wing-back with James Justin, and I thought it suited them the way they played. They got the just rewards. Really, really disappointed the way the first half played out. Give a goal away from home after 1 minute, and the set piece is so avoidable from Lucas Perry. And you reflect back and go, we should have got something out of that game. And Daniel Farke has to try and take the positives. But we know in this game, it's about getting points on the board. It's happened too many times late on in games where they've not picked up points that they should have done. Fulham away, arguably, could have nicked 3, get nothing. Bournemouth at home, leading 2-1, draw 2-2. These are big moments in the season for Daniel Farke. But plenty of positives for Leeds United. Tough place to go, but it doesn't get any easier.
No, it does. I mean, Chelsea where Liverpool will at home next too. But has that performance perhaps bought him some extra time, if indeed he is under pressure in terms of his future at the club?
I certainly hope so, because last week people are talking about his substitutions and are they right and wrong. People will have questioned, you're taking Dan James off, you're taking Nonto off. Sometimes when you go to a back 3 or a back 5, whichever you want to play it, this was a positive, and you can use it on that if you go more direct. So I certainly hope so for Daniel Farke. The Premier League is challenging at the time, but they showed a big response after that first 45 minutes, because it was well below. If you're going to get anything out in the Premier League, you need to start the Premier League games better.
Yeah, well, I mean, Foden's definitely back to his best. I think we saw a lot of it against Dortmund a few weeks ago, and then, people have doubted him last season. We got the job done. It wasn't convincing at all, like you said. Haaland didn't get a goal. He's on for 100, actually. He's on 99 at the moment in the Premier League. But we won the game. That's all I'm really bothered about. And it's pretty relieving at full time, to be honest.
Luke, obviously, after seeing Foden's performance today, and I completely agree with you as well, that it looks like Foden is back to his best again. That second goal today, the first goal was tough, the way he's got over the ball and controlled it. But the second goal was like a typical number 10 goal. He's on the half turn, he's shifted the ball, shifted it again, and then put it in the bottom corner. Based upon this form, is he a starter for England, or is he just a squad player?
It's tough, mate. I mean, the thing is, right, he was PFA Player of the Year before the Euros, and he still couldn't get a start for England. I think when you're picking an England team, you want players that have done it for England, and Foden hasn't quite done that. As much as I'd love to, see him start.
In fairness, he hasn't played in his position, his natural position.
Yeah, exactly. No, I completely agree with you. He's been out wide. We want to see him
left
playing
wing,
that role.
And playing on by the way, playing on the right wing for England is a lot different to playing right wing for City, where you can just drift into the number 10 positions. When England play, they have their wingers really wide, right? So it's different for Foden. Yeah,
I mean, I'm his number one fan. I want him straight in the team, but you got to see what Tuchel can cook up. Tuchel said himself he's a central player. He's viewing him only as a central player, and I'm hoping he can get in there. But there's a lot of competition. We know Cole Palmer's in there, Bellingham as well. But I'm happy he's playing for City and he's performing again. So that's what we want.
Luke, why do Man City's defence always look fragile? When you guys won the triple,
defense, mate. Honestly, I was right behind that.
Sorry, Luke. When you guys won the triple, though, like your defense wasn't too dissimilar. I mean, Ake was there, yes. I mean, Nunes wasn't there. Sorry, but I mean, generally you got the same kind of players. But now every single game, you look like you're going to concede. When you guys are winning 2-0, I actually turned around to one of the producers and said, this could be 2-2. And then it gets to 2-2 and it's like, wow, can we get the win now? You're struggling. Why is that, do you think?
Yeah, it's not nice at all. I think in that treble season, we were a little bit shaky at the start, and people kind of forget that. We had a lot of changes as well. Cancelo was in that team at the start of the season, and he was straight out, obviously, in the January. We basically had 4 centre-backs. We had Ake, Akanji, we had Stones, we had Diaz, and as much as you said some of the players are the same, I do agree with you. I think it's just so different, and Gvardiol was playing at left-back. We've effectively got 2 centre-mids at full-backs now as well, and they put in a good performance each, to be honest, with an assist going forward. But like you said, it's not quite what we want at the back. It's not. We've not got a natural right-back. We've got O'Reilly playing left-back. We've had Aït-Nouri injured for quite a while, and he's not quite got him into the team yet. So it's not ideal, but like I said, I think all City fans out there are just relieved, and we've got the job done today and won the game. That's all that really matters, but it's not ideal. I get what you're saying.
Luke, you mentioned there Nico O'Reilly. As much as he's not a natural left back, I have to say, based upon his form this season, if this continues, he's not only going to the World Cup, he's starting left back, because he is playing so well. He's tall, he's strong, he's technically very good, he's got good end product, his distribution into midfield is very good. That's the kind of defender or player you want to see playing for England. I mean, there's competition, yes, but at the moment, based upon this form, he's got a very good chance of starting in the World Cup.
Yeah, definitely. I'm hoping Phil Foden's in there with him as well, like you said. But I think he's been unbelievable this season. His form as well shows he's an exact modern left back, to be honest. Like you said, he's physical, he's technical, he's good like positioning wise and stuff like that. And I think
he reminds me a bit of Calafiori, you know.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
in a way,
particularly in the last season as well, he was good.
Yeah.
And then, everyone's picking up on it now, but he has been a standout performer for us this season. And with some of the injury problems we have had, especially in that position, he's really stepped up. And it's meant Guardiola can play centre-back as well, which is good because that's his natural position. So, yeah, he's doing a great job, O'Reilly.
Let's get the thought of you at home. We've got Aston Buckley, Man City fan, who is joining us now. Good evening, Aston. I guess just want to initially get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great game for a neutral, wasn't it? But as a City fan, it wasn't so great in the stands. I mean, when it went to 2-2, it's quite a big shock compared to the first 45 minutes where City felt so comfortable, in full control of the game. Probably should have scored more in that first half. Daniel Farke, credit to him really, because he did make those changes at half-time. Leeds went to that 5 at the back, 2 up top with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and that really did cause problems for City. But also, I think the sort of drop in performance level from City, I think maybe we were too comfortable in that first half, and they didn't expect that sort of turn up from them in the second half. And it shows with football how things change, because I actually thought City played better against Newcastle the other day, and they lost that game. And today they don't play as well, and they get the 3 points.
Aston, just a quick one from me. City's defence always looks really fragile at the moment. Even when you guys are playing well and attacking really well, like the start of the first half, particularly in the first half, there always seems like there's going to be a chance. When it was 2-0, I actually said this game could be 2-2. And then obviously Leeds got back into it. And I think that's a worry. Why do you think that is now? Because you still got some like world-class defenders there.
I think City are playing a different style of defending. They're sort of defending more on the front foot this season. Pep Lijnders come in, who worked previously Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool, and it's all about high pressing. And the way City play, they press very high, and then it does leave people in sort of 2-on-1 situation at the back. I mean, for the second Leeds goal, it left Nico O'Reilly on his own on the left-hand side, and that sort of put us in a big problems. And also, I noticed in the first goal, Tijani Reinders didn't quite press in the way Pep Guardiola wanted, and he was going crazy on the sidelines, and then before you know it, Leeds go and get a goal at the other end. So I think it's the way we're trying to press, and the players aren't always getting there. I mean, Haaland seemed a little bit off it today in his press. He didn't seem to have the sort of energy he usually does. I mean, Phil Foden brought the energy. I thought he was unbelievable today.
Yeah,
he carried City through that game.
Yeah, I mean, Phil Foden there, particularly the second goal, that second goal is the epitome of a number 10. Like that's the kind of goals you expect from the likes of Foden, Palmer's, these kind of players, where they're already on the half turn, they're shifting it again, and they're getting a shot off in a tight area. It was an unbelievable goal. But Foden was quality today. Like you said, Haaland was off it. And again, I think Haaland's been much better this season in terms of getting involved in the play, holding the ball up. He's bringing other players into the game as well. But today, he was anonymous. And these are the kind of performances where I look at him and say, he needs to do a lot better for the player he is.
I mean, you could say that, but I mean, usually against the teams sort of down the lower bottom half of the table, he scores 4 or 5 goals, and then it's in the bigger games people question he hasn't turned up in those. So I think it's just an off day for him. You know, I think he's allowed an off day. I think he had an off day at St James's Park the other day as well, unfortunately. I think on another day he scores a hat-trick there maybe, and City go and win the game.
That's off fortnight.
Well. Yeah, I know. It happens every now and again.
I played as a striker, and obviously I never scored nowhere near as many goals as Haaland. But I just think that if Haaland's going to be compared to the greatest strikers to ever play in the Premier League, these kind of games, he needs to turn up and do more. I'm not saying you're going to score goals every single game, because you're not. But you just got to do more than what he's done today. And I mean, it looks like Pep here is giving him a pep talk.
I don't know if it's a tactical thing with Haaland. I know it's a lot last season. He wasn't as good as he usually is last season. And he seemed to, a lot of time, his movement seemed to be like peeling off to the far post and waiting for crosses to come in, which I don't think he's particularly, I know he's a big man, but he's not the best in the air. He does score headers every now and again. He can bully players, but not quite as much as if he's running through on goal. He's much better with the ball at his feet. So today he sort of played a lot of that, appealing to the far post and waiting for those crosses to be swung in. I don't know if that was a tactic to sort of occupy the Leeds players and then find space for Foden or Shirky who came on, Doku. That seemed to be the reason why, because he wasn't sort of in the positions you usually expected to be in. I mean, at one point, Leeds really struggled defending against City. We get across into the box. I think it was Pascal Schraub who plays one off the line, and Haaland doesn't even gamble to get the end of it. He's too busy.
That's the one. Like literally, he goes there right at the end to pick the ball up to go for the corner. Like normally, Haaland's like he's in there. He's a fox in the box.
Yeah, I don't know what his movement's doing. I think it was really an off day. He seemed to be more involved in sort of getting scuffles with the opposition defenders and sort of occupying him. I don't know if that was the idea, for him to occupy him and find space for the others, but it was an odd game from Haaland. But I won't be worried.
Look, thanks for the messages that have come in as well. We just want to ask Jay, you saw a question pop up there. Do you think City will win the league, or do you think they are too vulnerable? You talked about their defensive frailties.
No, I can't see Man City winning the league. I think there'd be more chance of them winning in Europe than in the league. I just feel like at home, again, you guys look like you're going to concede goals like every game. And I feel like when you look at Arsenal, they probably won't lose at home all season. And then, between now and the end of the season, they might lose 3 games. But I feel like Man City will lose more than that. Liverpool are obviously way off it. I mean, the realistic, contenders are Chelsea, to be honest. They're playing well. They're in form. They're second in the league. You can't argue with that. But I don't think Man City's far off. They've still got some unbelievable players there. They're going to strengthen. They might even strengthen in January. But I just don't feel like this is a season that Man City are even competing for the title.
What do you think of this message? Haaland, he's a flop.
No,
Haaland's a flop. That's just caught my eye, guys.
Listen, Haaland he's going to go down as one of the best goal scorers of all time, I'm sure. As long as he avoids injuries, we pray. But, I mean, I just don't see Man City being there or thereabouts come May.
OK, Aston, thank you very much indeed. I think a few of the fantasy football players obviously sending those messages well.
Worst run of form for some 71 years. And Dorsey, you've watched their last couple of games with us, midweek soccer special, PSV, and of course a week ago you were watching them, that defeat to your old team, Nottingham Forest, at Anfield. Are they now as a team broken?
Completely. And I think Arne Slot has to strip everything back and get back to basics and try and get the best out of these players. And I'm not talking about quality. We know there's quality in there. I'm talking about running harder than the opposition, tackling harder than the opposition, putting everything on the line to keep the ball out the back of the net. I watched them a week ago against Nottingham Forest, and for the first 30 minutes, they were brilliant. They thought this is the Liverpool that I expect to be seeing. Then in the blink of an eye, a goal goes in for Nottingham Forest. Murillo scores it. Another set piece, being so poor. Virgil gets the first contact, it falls. And from that moment, they just never responded. And that, for me, is a team that is short of confidence, it's short of belief. And you just see them, they are down on their knees. And it was exactly the same in midweek against PSV. And we're talking about a team going to Anfield in the Champions League and getting beat 4-1, humiliated. And it was like that last week. They're always in the game, but defensively they're just so easy to play against. And they conceded a goal in midweek against PSV after 7 minutes, and I'm thinking, wow, I sat before it and I thought they'd get back to winning ways. But what happened if they went behind? And that happened. And they responded really, really well. For 40 minutes of that first half, they got the goal, got back into it, and very good. And at half-time, I thought there was only going to be one winner. I really, really did. I couldn't see PSV coming out and having a response to what Liverpool had shown. How wrong was I? I could not believe that performance in the second half from some of those Liverpool players. They lie down, they give up, and that is unacceptable for a Liverpool team to get beat 4-1 at home in the Champions League against a PSV. And that is why they are broke. And I think he has to make changes. He has to go back to basics, bring Robertson in, bring Joe Gomez, who's been injured, take Kerkez out, take Canati out the firing line and the heat, and just try and bring a little bit of belief back.
And Tim, Jamie Carragher has had his say this week, and he's been pretty strong on Arne Slot. He says, in his opinion, he has 1 week to save his job. You look at the games he got, West Ham away tomorrow, then Sunderland at home, and then Leeds United away. You look at last season, comes in, takes over from Klopp, wins the Premier League at the first time of asking, and then over the course of this summer, he's had to navigate himself and the squad through the loss of Diego Jota. We haven't reached that stage already, have we, where he's got a week to save his job? Surely not.
No. On the back of what he done last season, I think we're absolutely not there. But I agree with Jamie. If we hadn't won last season and they lose the next 3 games, no one can survive as a Liverpool manager. He's got a history of winning. Done brilliant last year. They won it at a canter. There's something not right. It's an accumulation of things, I believe. It's a new player, it's integrated him in. It's obviously the Jota factor. I think it's the main factor. I really do. I think they've all got to get together now. They really have to get their heads together. And the body language is really, really poor. So when they're conceding goals, I see a lot of the players, when you look around, see them throwing their arms up in the air and blaming each other. They cannot do that. The whole world is looking at them at the moment. It is disastrous, their form. But they're capable of turning it around. But they have to all get together. The manager, the coaching staff, all of the players, all of the academy, the whole... Every one of the staff at their training ground needs to be together on a siege mentality of everyone's against us. We need to turn this around. That's the only thing we can possibly do. I think they're capable of doing it. I really do. I think this year's a mulligan for him. I think they give him a free pass for this year. If they don't finish in the Champions League spot, I think by the beginning of next season he has to start flawlessly, otherwise he will get sacked.
But if they reach a point this season where we're just finishing inside the top 4 and the Champions League place with all the finances come with it as well, and they're just a club that you expect to be in the Champions League, does that then become a decision point for the owners in terms of his future?
I think they will finish in the Champions League, but you're saying if they don't finish in the Champions League, I think it's a...
If it starts to look impossible this season, they drift away that much.
Yeah, but I don't think we'll get there. I really don't. I think it has been poor. I can't steer away from that. It has been very poor. I think he needs to, like I say, he will not... No one will be trying harder than that man to try and put it right. He won't be able to catch his breath. He will go home at night. He won't be able to sleep. You know, he will live it and he'll know that his team are underachieving and it's his job to make them perform. Now, I think we have to also look at him and thinking, how hard did he take the Jota news? It's all right for everyone to look at the manager and say, Gaffer, lead us. And that is his job, of course it is. But I think emotionally, he might be broke as well from the loss of Jota. I think a lot of the players will be. I think when you look at the likes of Virgil and Salah, the experienced players, and Robertson. I mean, Robertson, one of the biggest moments personally for him was qualifying for the World Cup, Scotland. But the first thing on his mind was Diego Jota.
Yeah.
You know, so it is at the forefront of their mind. So I don't think we can underestimate the impact what that has had on the group of players.
So, Bordy, where are you on this? If he gets to the end of these next 3 games and they've been way off it, they've continued this poor run of form, where for you does that leave Arne Slot?
I think if you lose the next 3 games to West Ham, Sunderland and Leeds, then there's going to be left with no choice because you're then facing Inter Milan in a Champions League, and then you're facing Brighton in the league, who we know can cause teams problems as well. So I think for Arne Slot, and we keep hearing about a manager or a head coach, how does he deal with it? He's never had to deal with this in his career, because his career since he started coaches had just went up and up and up and up. Now all of a sudden they're facing a period where, I mean, this is the first time in his career he's faced adversity. In terms of the results, he will be looking for help as well. It's easy. I think you know, the more experience you get and the older you become, you'll have periods where you lose games and you then understand how to deal with it. This is the first time he's ever faced it. You know, when you look at AZ Alkmaar, then he went to Feyenoord, he's came to Liverpool, and I mean, everybody keeps saying it was Jurgen Klopp's team. Well, if it was Jurgen Klopp's team, why did he not win the league with you? Arne Slot deserves enormous credit for what he achieved last year. I mean, that was Liverpool's 2nd league title in 35 years. Don't underestimate how big achievement that was. Are they maybe ahead of schedule because of what they've done last year, and now you're looking at it, they've dropped off? The new players haven't helped. There's no getting away from it. They haven't helped. I think they've added players in positions that they didn't really need. You know, the Luis Diaz factor and the shift that he put in that left-hand side last year. We speak about the vulnerability in the Liverpool full-back area right now and the 2 centre-backs being exploited. What a shift. Maybe not so much Mo Salah, but on that left-hand side, Luis Diaz was... The protection he gave Andy Robertson, Kerkaz has come in. I don't think Kerkaz has had that this year. The amount of money it was paid for Isak, Wirtz, they're struggling. They are struggling. Maybe it was too many players at the one time. I don't think any has sat here in the summer and said that the players coming into Liverpool were bad players, but they are struggling right now.
But the players have been there a long time.
Another thing is as well, Tim, when you look at it, usually when you're in a dressing room and you're bringing players into a dressing room, when you're bringing new ones in, you're looking saying, right, OK, can we go again? They've struggled, so the ones that are already in it are maybe looking saying, they're not as good as what. And then, to what you're saying, they're looking saying, can they help the new players to settle? But the Diego Jota, everything that's, the players that were already there might be going through as well. So, listen, it's an accumulation of absolutely everything that is leading to this run for Liverpool. But as Michael touched on there as well, when you're going on about a coach, and the coach will be the one who'll be the brunt of it, but he can't make people run harder. What do you do as a coach? Like, you said the first period of time that they came out, they were out the blocks, they were firing, they were in their faces, and then they stopped doing that at the second time. That's not on the coach. No. There's no way at half-time you're going to and Ernest Slot's turning around and saying, listen, job's done, don't run about.
And that's where you talk about confidence, Boydie. That confidence goes out.
You don't need confidence to run about.
Exactly. And when people are running past you and you're switching off for a second and these kind of things, that goal where it goes down the left-hand side past Mo Salah, that is so basic. Yeah. That's just like, someone else will deal with it. He goes past him and then he gets inside Kirkez's individual errors, they're getting punished.
And that's worth exploring more, Sue, because you look back at PSV midweek. I mean, you'd have to say Ekitike, one of the few bright spots this season, and Szoboszlai. He's been setting the standards. Yeah. But even there was a moment on Wednesday night where last season we spoke so much about that engine, his ability to get up and down for the whole game, where he just almost gives up in terms of tracking back. So unlike him, wherever you look in terms of Liverpool at the moment, there are so many problems that Arne Slot has got to find solutions for. If you were going to highlight his biggest problem right now, what might that be for you?
Wow. I think that's the problem, that it's a combination of absolutely everything. I don't think you can particularly highlight one thing. I think we've gone through the new players coming in, taking time to adapt. We've spoken about, the Jota factor and how that's affected the manager, the staff, the players. I just find the whole situation bizarre. I think we look at the start of the season where we were just thinking Liverpool were just going to continue. They were going to, push on again. They've brought in all of these new fantastic players. Yes, they've lost players, but they've brought in amazing players that are just going to add to the team. And they were going to go again. And you looked at the first 5 games, weren't at their best, but they won all 5. And you were thinking, OK, they're going to build from here. And it just didn't happen, but you could see those frailties. And I just think as the games have gone on, those frailties have got probably more so, So you've looked at certain games with Liverpool. If a team sits back, they're defensively sound, they're well organised, Liverpool have struggled to break them down. They then know that if they then hit Liverpool on the break, if they go direct with the balls, if they're, strong at set pieces, pretty much what Nottingham Forest are very good at, what PSV are very good at, they struggle. And you look, there's gaping holes in those full-back areas. So, yes, they've had injuries in both of their right-backs. Szoboszlai's had to fill in at that right-back position. He'll invert. So there's massive holes there, isn't there? And that's where teams are very much exposed. In Liverpool, Kirkez has struggled. The 2 centre-backs have struggled. Konate probably has had his
As an Everton fan, how much are you enjoying it, though?
I'm not, absolutely not. No,
I think it needs to come to a stop, and it starts with the manager. The manager has to get everyone together. New players, don't look at the old players. The old players, don't blame the new players. Whatever's gone has gone. Now we need to wipe the slate clean, and we need to show how good we are. But also, more than that, we need to show the non-negotiables, the character, the ability to drive and take this great club forward. The fan needs to help them now. I think they will. I think they're fantastic supporters at Liverpool Football Club. I believe they will turn it around. I just think they need a little bit, obviously a lot of confidence, but just one step at a time, and I think they're capable of going on a run.
Tim, we keep speaking about confidence. Confidence comes from running harder, going and causing your opposition down, force them into mistakes. Like, nobody's just going to turn around and say, there's Mo Salah, he's struggling right now. We'll go and let him dribble passes and take us on and smash. They need to get back to his Tim said basics, running hard on the opposition, because you see it all the time, and top players get praised for what they do with the ball. But there's one thing about them as well: they work their socks off. They worked hard, and that's what Liverpool done last year. Szoboszlai going to right back as well is an issue for them, because it's not only that, it's what they miss in the middle of the pitch.
And just to pick up on things defensively, which you've talked about already, but it was a point that Carragher made in his column this week. We've seen a fair one. He charted Liverpool's drop-off in terms of standards to last season when the trophy was secured, not the moment they lifted it, but before that. And since they were confirmed that they were going to be the Premier League champions, they conceded 29 goals in the next 16 games since then, 1.8 per game. And you look at the transfer policy, you look at the fact that they chased Isak so hard, and yet Ekitiko so far has been the shining light up front. That defence needed some attention, and Mark Gay didn't arrive. And there's been a lot of talk about Richard Hughes, the sporting director, in the last week. You know, everyone's saying about Slot bringing his new players, it's not worked. Well, I mean, if you're to believe some reports, Slot didn't want Diaz to depart. It was Richard Hughes who was pushing for that. So you wonder whether in terms of the summer they were just strengthening in the wrong areas, Dawes.
It's easy in hindsight. I think we can sit here now.
But weren't the signs already that defence needed attention?
I think I think we were saying, well, where's Gay going to play, weren't we?
Yeah, no.
Well, when he sit on the bench, is he happy sitting on the bench? That's why he should stay at Palace. That's what we was all saying. And all of a sudden now we're all geniuses because they're conceding goals, and we're saying. Well,
that's why we said in hindsight it's easy because.
But the point Jamie Carragher's making, the signs were already there towards the end of last season.
Yeah, we have a drop-off. We would have a drop-off because you've won the league. I can see that when you go back to it, but they would not expect to be so easy to play against and give so many opportunities up. And Kanate to have such a dip in form. It was remarkable. They let Kwanzaa go to Leverkusen. He's gone there and done well. Joe Gomez is injury-prone, unfortunately for him. They bring Leone in. He then does his ACL. So he wasn't the answer straight away because he's still a young kid. But they would have looked at this position and go, it's going to be Kanate and Virgil van Dijk. I think the Trent Alexander-Arnold one is a huge one. They haven't got a right-back in the building that's fit. Bradley's injured. Frimpong probably isn't an out-and-out right-back. He's more attacking.
But he's injury-prone as well, so you're running that risk.
But Trent was more attacking. We said Trent can't defend, but what he'd give going forward, he put Szoboszlai there last Saturday. Midweek, they put Curtis Jones there because, like you said, Boydie, they lose that attacking option with Szoboszlai. His creativity is remarkable. So everything's easy in hindsight and to sit here and go, we should have signed Mark Gay. They should have signed Mark Gay, non-negotiable. They should have gone out. You've spent 130 million on Isak, 70-odd million Ekitike. But you may as well have spent the 50, 60, 70 million on Gay.
For one of those.
And they wanted
100%.
to, by the way. Let's not pretend they didn't want to. They wanted to sign him.
Just left it rather late.
Yeah. So, in hindsight, completely, they should have signed Mark Gay.
Wait for the Gunners. They are in fine fettle heading into that game at Stamford Bridge in the second part of Super Sunday tomorrow. Away to inform Chelsea. Tim, just to reel off some of the stats for Arsenal so far this season. I mean, compared to last season at this stage, they're 7 points up on that, unbeaten in the last 16 games in all competitions, won just the 14 of those. Only 3 defeats in the last 40 Premier League games. So no huge surprise at the moment in terms of where the bookmakers think the title is going. They think it definitely is going to North London and the red half of North London for the first time in 21 years. And you were sat in that seat a week ago where you said, win the North London derby, they will win the Premier League and they'll win it for years and years to come. Still stand by that. I assume after that performance on Sunday, you absolutely stand by it.
I just thought it was a huge game of football. I thought if they lost this game, they were going to the one against Chelsea tomorrow, and it would be a very difficult game for them. I think they'll win their game against Chelsea now. I don't see anyone challenging them this season. I think the nearest challenges will come from the team who have got the experience to be able to win the league, which is Man City. I think they will come nearest. But we all talked about, can they deal with the injuries? They've ticked that box now. They've covered that. He can't do it without Gabriel. And Capia comes in. He's magnificent. It was seamless to change. He couldn't do it without Odegaard in years gone by. They can do it without anyone now. They got players like Declan Rice, he's an AI player. I mean, if you had to make a player, an absolute superstar.
The first AI reference I think we've had regarding a player.
For a manager's dream, I mean, this kid has got everything. You got Timber, who's probably the best fullback in the world. You know, for me, they're just incredible footballers, and they've got. The only thing that's missing is they haven't done it. And if they do get over the line, I think everyone's got a problem. We know how difficult it is to win back-to-back titles.
But the eyebrow-raising bit of what you said last week wasn't that you think they'll win the title, because I don't think many, based on their current form, would disagree with that. But you said this was the big Merson-style claim in his chair. They'll win it for years and years to come. You think that as well still?
Yeah, of course.
But might we have said that at Liverpool this time last season?
Yeah, we would have done.
So what's the difference here?
Well, we just covered that. I think it was...
No, but in terms of Arsenal, how
Arsenal
do you
young
see
enough.
them being?
They've got the quality, they've got the strength in depth, they're young enough. I think Gyökeres is a question mark. I think they still think they need a centre forward at this present moment in time. I haven't seen enough of him, but if he comes, you've got players, Kai Havertz, who hasn't even got changed yet, so they've got ability to be able to do it. The only thing that was missing, we'll all say, is they haven't done it.
Yeah.
But once they do it, the experience of having done it, I think they're capable with the young group of players and a very young manager who's still got the drive to go and win it again. Because he'll be just like Pep Guardiola. He won't say, got there, let's have a relax now. He'll be like, right, on to the next. Yeah. On to the next. They're capable. We know how difficult it is. There's only Man City and Man United ever won back-to-back. But I think if they miss out a year, I think we'd be there or thereabouts and they'll go again. What I'm saying is in the next 10 years, I think they're capable of winning it 5 times.
And Bordy, listen, Tim, and we've spoken about it a lot, that strength in depth they've got this season. But something else that strikes me that seems to be different about them this season is they look mentally a different beast at the moment. Would you concur with that, or still too early to make that kind of call?
Listen, I think they've been like that for the last couple of seasons. When you look at what the Manchester City team had to put up to Scotland, Liverpool had to put up to Scotland, I mean, that was levels that we don't often see. This Arsenal team, when you go back, and I think everybody thought a couple of years ago they were going to arrive, they had a couple of bad injuries, and all of a sudden it derailed their title challenge. That ain't going to happen this year, because they've got more players out than what they did back then, and they're still winning games comfortably. I mean, when you look at the performance on Wednesday night, everybody's before that game was saying, Bayern Munich, one of the favourites for the Champions League. The second half, they ran all over the top of them.
Just dispatched them, didn't they?
Could not get near them. Could not get near them. Albeit, listen, Bayern Munich, I thought the first half done reasonably well. But the big thing for me would be as well that usually when you've got top teams that dominate the ball and they'll suffocate teams, Bayern Munich had more possession than Arsenal. They knew exactly what they were doing. We'll sit in, and then we'll hit you in the counter-attack and score the goals that they did. And the options they've got all over the pitch is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen it. Even Lewis Skelly, he's been in and out of the team. He's not played a lot of football recently. But as soon as Calafiori had come onto that pitch on Wednesday, they just went again. He gets the assist. There's a physique about them. They're very difficult to stop. They can create chances. They can score from set plays. Right now, they are the perfect team.
And what they also have, Sue, it seems at the moment that they've got that balance. They've got really, really good competition for places, but they just feel like they're all pulling in the same direction. So when players are on the bench, like Madueke, who'd come back, was midweek, Gabriel Martinelli back and on the bench as well, they look at that rather than a blow. Obviously, everyone wants to start, but a chance to contribute later on. And indeed they do. Madueke comes on, scores his first goal. Gabriel Martinelli scores a goal as well. It just feels as a unit, as a whole now, they're absolutely pulling in the same direction.
Yeah, I think they've got that sort of healthy competition, haven't they, now for places, and the squad depth has been a massive positive for them. Because I think when you look at previous seasons, when they've lost key players, it's really affected them, whether it's Ødegaard, whether it's Saka, whether it's one of the centre-backs. But now they've got players to come in and replace them. And not just replace them and be not as good as them, they are as good as them. They've got that sort of real quality. So, like Boydie said, so many players out, and yet they're continuing to win games. So I think the recruitment's been excellent. We spoke about Liverpool's recruitment. It may come good, but you look at Arsenal's and you just think it's complemented the players that are already there. The likes of Zubamendi coming in, it's then been helping Rice so he can kick on and further his game. So I think everything, we've all spoken about Arsenal the last few weeks, they do look the perfect team, and they've got a bit of everything, haven't they? So we've spoke about, where we've said, they score a lot of goals from set pieces. They can still play teams off the park if they need to. They can still go from back to front quickly if they need to. Yes, they'll score set pieces and be very strong at that, but they've just got a bit of everything. So, yeah, certainly the team to beat, and they've been outstanding.
To say after the game, Liverpool have never sacked a manager who's won the league. Never in their history. I couldn't believe at the weekend that people were talking about the manager's job when I spoke to Liverpool supporters after losing at home to Nottingham Forest. It's only going to amplify now. I've always been in the camp, you stick with your manager. I'm angry with the players, if I'm being totally honest, but if it does get to the stage with any manager at any club where I always use this word untenable, it can't go on any longer. I'm not quite there yet, personally, in terms of the manager, but I know a lot of the supporters will be. Right, good morning to Rob Earnshaw. Rob, last night, was it a turning point in Arne Slot's reign?
It was one step towards that, but I still don't think that it was a turning point. I think after last night, there's a lot more worry for Liverpool. Just because you look at, okay, where they are, and you just think, even last night, you just think, this is the game they'll turn it around. So we've been like that for a while, and they've lost 9 out of 12 now. So when it's like that, I think last night's result, I think, really is going to wake up the changing room, wake up Arne Slot, because I think even last night, they were pretty good, actually, for pretty much of the game, but they're going to lose 4-1. So there's real questions to be asked. There's some real deep soul-searching to be had at Liverpool. And in some sense, it's not uncommon because, remember, look at what we saw, not last season, the season before, Man City winning all the titles, all the trophies. Last season, we saw an unbreakable Pep Man City team drop down and continue to lose and concede loads of goals. So it's very similar to what we saw from Man City last season to this Liverpool team now. They're the champions. They're the ones to beat. And now teams are now finding it easy to score against them. And then also on top of that, they're not scoring goals.
Crucially, they did win the title last season, all right? If Arne Slot hadn't won the title this season, would he be gone now?
I think that question would be right at the front of the picture, yeah. I think because he won the title, it buys him a bit of time. And also, I think also the other side of it, not just won the title, I thought he was very, very good. I thought he was excellent last year. I think I remember around this time, I think I came on one of the shows, and when I looked at Liverpool, everybody says, oh, how are we going to recover after Jurgen Klopp is gone? Well, his team were more looking like champions than the previous 2 seasons from the Liverpool team of Klopp. So for me, I thought he was excellent. Tactically, I think he understands it. He's very sharp. I think you can really compete against the very, very best in Guardiola and Arteta. But I just think that he's got credit in the bank, and he should do, because he's very, very good. And also the other thing is this, if you don't have Arne Slot for Liverpool, well, who else is at that level to take this Liverpool team to the next level? I don't think there's that many right now. And also, I actually think that he should be still the Liverpool manager.
Well, good timing, because remember, we've just been telling you that Jamie Carragher said his position is not untenable. We asked the viewers on our poll that question right there. It's not untenable yet, do you agree? 54% say no, that they don't agree there. I mean, in terms of in the dressing room, we don't know what goes on there, Rob, but as a former player, are you getting the impression that he does still have the support of the players?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think he does have... See, some things... players will be the last ones to normally question the manager. Because normally it starts with the fans, starts with the media. That's where it starts. And normally players are the last ones to really question, because day to day they win in with them. And right now I actually think Arne Slot is very, very good. So it's a question of little small details rather than big changes. They went out this summer, spent so much money. They went and bought what is classed as the top players around Europe to bring into Liverpool. So they've done that. And on top of that, then they've got a very, very good manager who is a champion. And on top of that, they've also got a Mo Salah who has an unbelievable last season. So they've got the team. It's very strange that we sit in this position where a team that's got their champions, then they go and spend to increase the quality in their squad, and they've got a very good manager and a champion at that, and they really drop like this. It's very, very strange. There's a few little things that I think is the problem. The biggest problem is the duels, the 1v1s individually. I was at the Liverpool Forest game on the weekend, and I could just see all the individual battles getting lost. And then in the crucial moments, the other team, Forest, get the chance, bang, 1-0. Then it's 2-0. And then you think, oh, of course it's not going to... They're going to come back. No, they're not scoring goals. They're conceding goals, and they're right now too easy to play against. And I think that's the biggest worry, rather than the manager. They've got a very good team. Everything on paper, we rewind back 3-4 months ago, and everybody in this country went and said, as soon as they signed Isak, it's Liverpool's title.
And they started so well. Beat Arsenal, and then a few months later, this is the top elite professional sport. This is the I guess the cut is you can drop off so quickly, and this Liverpool's team is dropping off very, very fast. They have to stop it very, very quickly, because right now, for me, they're out of the title race. But imagine, they go and actually build for the title race and the Champions League, and they're nowhere near both. That is a real worry. Sky Sports are partnered with Analysis, an app where passionate fans share their opinions on their club. If you want to represent your club, scan the QR code here or visit the Sky Sports app for more details. Let's speak to Liverpool fan Connor Ray now. Good morning to you, Connor. I know it's not a great morning for you, let's be honest, but you'll know that Jamie Carragher said that Slot's position is almost getting to the point of untenable, but not there yet. How do you see it?
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with him, to be honest. I'm still not just about in the camp where I think he should go yet. I think, as Rob said a minute ago, he's still got plenty of credit in the bank from last season and stuff, but it is running out fast, and it's running out fast because the performances, especially at home as well, have been nothing short of embarrassing. I think that the bigger problem, and something that I heard echoed around the ground last night by the fans sitting around me, was it's not even so much the results, it's the manner of the performance, it's the lack of desire, it's the lack of fight, it's the repeating the same mistakes time in, time and out, and I think that's the part that's starting to get fans back up. And I will say I know I don't sit just yet in slot out territory, but the fans that were sitting around me last night definitely were.
Well, well, that's it. There were audible boos at full time. Now, I'm not a Liverpool fan, but I can't remember very many times when Liverpool have been booed off at Anfield. You'll know that more than me. So when you say there were fans around you with a different opinion to yourself and Jamie Carragher, are they starting to be the majority rather than the minority?
Yeah, it was a shock. It was a shock to me as well, and to my dad. That was sort of we talked about it in the final few minutes, especially once that fourth goal had gone in, and sort of said, look, they're in danger here of being booed, and we were trying on the way home to remember when that had last happened, and we can't remember it in our lifetime of hearing it quite as vocally. The fans are entitled to that opinion as well. I don't hold the boos against any of them. We don't like to hear it, and we didn't partake in it ourselves because we still perhaps foolishly hold the belief that this can be turned around. The squad's too good to suffer for this long, but how long does it go on, right? Like, how many more games do you lose before you start to think, well, is that just a pipe dream?
How long have you got, Connor? What's your... You say you're not there yet, but when is that? When are you thinking that, okay, now you've had enough?
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem, isn't it, Rob? It's like, it's how long is a piece of string? If I said last night, I said to my dad before last night's game, I said the only way that last night became a massive problem for Slot was if we didn't win, which sounds daft to say, but what I meant by that was it should have been a routine win for us, really. It's PSV, it's a Dutch team, he knows the Dutch league inside out, he's gone and bossed it before, and that's a team that he, of all managers, should know how to beat, even when we're in a poor run of form. So to lose 4-1 at home was embarrassing.
And it's West Ham, Sunderland and Leeds next in the Premier League, and then, OK, there's Inter in between that, but then Brighton at home. I mean, that yesterday with the guests on the show were saying that that's got to be, forget the Brighton game, the next 3 games have to be 9 points. Do you expect to get 9 points the way you're playing?
No, at the moment I don't expect to get any, to be honest. I think it's. I was saying just before to the producer there that the prospect of playing Sunderland at home next week is terrifying. And when was the last time as Liverpool fans that playing Sunderland at Anfield was a terrifying prospect? It's a really, really bizarre position to be in as a fan. And you're just sort of holding on to this false hope that the next game will be the one where we see that performance. And I suppose I'm a little bit still clinging to stuff like the Villa game and the Real Madrid game a couple of weeks ago. If we came out and played like that, we'd beat all of these teams, no problem. But you're absolutely right, Tom, but we're going into a period of fixtures where we are looking at some of, on paper, the easiest games we'll have this season, and we're not picking up any points. I'm not confident going into West Ham. I'm not confident going into Sunderland. I'm terrified of the San Siro, I've got to be honest.
Connor, just on that, what worries you the most about this Liverpool team right now? From what you saw last season to right now, which area or players worries you right now where you're not seeing the best performances?
There's two bits for me on that, Rob, and two really distinct bits. The first one is the individual errors that I know you talked about before as well, like Van Dijk's penalty last night and his yellow card tackle and the being half a yard off the pace all game was so uncharacteristic of the Van Dijk we've seen. Konate with the individual error that led to the third goal as well, and the errors he's made recently. I don't know why he's still in the team. Carragher has been in terrible form, but still, again, second goal was he was culpable for that one. So I think those individual errors, I've been furious with the players at times this season, and last night was no different. And the second part of that as well, also a little bit on the players, is it's the reaction to going behind. Last night was a breath of fresh air when that penalty went in. Every single one of that Liverpool team turned around, got the ball, ran back to the halfway line, put it down. Salah's there trying to fire the crowd up to get them going. And they did. The performance reflected that, and we got back into the game. And at half-time, you're thinking, this is better, we're on top. When the second PSV goal went in, the body language around the team was absolutely unacceptable. You looked around, and I said to my dad, and said, we may as well go now. This game's done. But we're not going to get back into this one, because you could see to a man, all of the Reds had dropped. None of them were interested in getting back into the game, and that was reflected in the performance from then on.
And there's a lot of despair about Liverpool's performances lately. Of course, are we underestimating the personal aspect of this with these players? It has been brought up several times, but they are still grieving from a real loss of a person, of a teammate in Diogo Jota, not just the loss of a football match here and there.
Yeah, I mean, Liverpool fans have been asked this a lot recently. I think Liverpool fans and the players and the manager and nobody associated with the club or fans around the world, nobody's ever going to use that as an excuse. It's not an excuse, but there's no denying that it's a factor in and you can see that it's affecting them. We saw even when we were winning games at the start of the season how emotional Salah was. I think we've seen from his lack of media presence, that's something else Jamie Carragher's talked about. I think that's linked to this as well. I think he's trying to focus on his game as best he can. And we can't, there's no way of us knowing what the impact of that is on that dressing room and how it's affected the players. There's no way of us knowing how it's affected certain fans as well. It's something you never expect to happen, and something that you can't really deal with until it does, right? So, yeah, I think whilst it's not an excuse, and I think that there's other issues that can be addressed in the meantime, I think it's certainly been a factor.
OK, Connor, thank you.
Thanks very much. Cheers, guys.
For some strong words from Paul Scholes. He says he was surprised by Ruben Amorim's stubbornness in not changing his system when facing Everton's 10 men in the Monday Night Football. He says it felt like one step forwards and two steps back at times during Amorim's year in charge, but he still feels they will be challenging for European places at the end of the season.
It's a really tough job for him. We know that. Many people have come and failed since Sir Alex. And like I say, you feel like you're making a step forward and two steps back almost all the time. Look, it's a lot's made of the formation. I thought the other night was a big stubbornness towards it, really. If you think of the back three, Gary's mentioned it on commentary all the time, and you could feel the frustration in them, the frustration in the fans, and frustration in all of us that he didn't change it, because to have three against virtually nobody at times, it felt strange that you bring in an extra attacker or a player on. So look, I think that it's still a work in progress. They're still not in a great position in the league. They obviously had a poor season last year, and it'll be looking to improve. I think the league's so tight, or even from second right down to where Man United now, 10th, 11th, 10th, I think. So a couple of wins, and all of a sudden you're back flying again, and you're in positions where you'd like to think they can compete for, especially a European place this season.
While both Scholes and his former teammate Nicky Butt feel Kobbie Mainoo has stagnated under Amorim. Mainoo, a stand-up player for England in the Euros in 2024, hasn't started a league game this season, and Butt says he should consider moving on if he doesn't feature more regularly.
Yeah, I'm worried about him because he's a superstar. He's got into the England team at 18, 19. Was one of the best performers in the Euros for us. He's come through the academy at Man United from the age of 7. He was there when I was there as academy manager. I know him as a person, I know him as a young boy, I know him as a young man. I know the talent that he's got. And the scary thing for me is if Kobbie Mainoo was playing for Crystal Palace, example, if he was at any other football club, bar Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, where it's hard to get players out of. Man United will be in for him in January for 50-60 million, and it's sad because I know how much he loves football, I know how much he loves the football club. More importantly, as we all do, we know the talent that he's got, and it is a waste, and he's a player that we could do with. For a player of his ilk, shouldn't be going on loan. Either the club want you or you leave. It's looking like the club don't see him as a starting 11, which for me is bizarre, with some of the players that are playing. So if I was his advisor, I'd be saying, look, if you don't get in that starting 11 pretty soon, you need to go and get a new club that's going to value you, going to help your career go forward, and going to get you to the level that you should be at, and we all know you should be at.
That's probably one of the most disappointing things for me is Kobbie Mainoo not being involved in this Manchester United team, because we saw how good he was 18 months, 2 years ago, and for some reason it's not quite happened. The manager doesn't seem to quite fancy him, but we all know the qualities he has, but the manager's just for some reason preferring somebody else, and that's something he has to deal with. I think he's dealt with it quite well at this minute, but at some point he will get frustrated, and as I'm frustrated with watching Manchester United at times as well, and especially with Kobbie Mainoo, because homegrown talent, we don't have many of them anymore, and we want him in that team, we want him playing well.
Hello again, you're watching Back Pages tonight, and welcome back to Henry Winter and Martin Hardy. Let's discuss Arsenal, because what a night it was for them. 3-1 winners against Bayern Munich, the only team now remaining in this Champions League group phase with a 100% record. And you can see that back page there in the Mail. Red hot. Gunners fire a warning to Euro rivals as Bayern are taken apart. Henry, this was a really impressive win for Arsenal against top European opposition.
Yeah, with Harry Kane, a former current Spurs legend, leading the attack, so they will have particularly enjoyed that. I mean, Bayern did produce a fabulous goal, sort of 20-pass move, but Madueke, I mean, how special is that going to be? I mean, I just went and checked to see how the petition that Arsenal fans started in the transfer window, say no to Madueke. It's got 5,217 people have signed it, pleading with the club not to sign Madueke. I can't imagine there will be many more added to that tonight, plus he's already signed. And I just think that, he's a good player, and Arsenal are going to need the strength and depth this season. When you go to Arsenal nowadays, you look at the team sheet, but you look at the bench, and the bench has got so much talent. If you saw the goal that Max Dowman scored for was it the under-17s in the Youth League earlier today, the skill cutting in from the right, the talent that they have got, credit to Hale End, their academy there, and also to their recruitment. I mean, Gyökeres has not been playing recently, but what a signing he's been. Eberechi Eze, and this is the strength they've got. So Eze, who's been outstanding for the last month for Arsenal, he comes off. Martin Odegaard comes on. There's slight concern, obviously, with Trossard having to go off injured, but the strength in depth they've got. Miles Lewis-Skelly started today. Calafiori's been fantastic at left back for them recently. Mosquera's stepped in at the defence today, with Gabriel still out. So it's this strength in depth, it's this confidence. They've been building and building and building under Arteta towards this. They're now top of the Premier League, top of the Champions League in this elongated stage of the season, and they've got the strength in depth. So look, they're not going to be crowing, they're not going to be booking any sort of parade buses yet, but they will be confident.
And Martin, with this strength in depth, it means, I assume, that you think that they can compete on all fronts and possibly end up with multiple trophies at the end of the season.
I watched Newcastle beat Manchester City on Saturday, and they'd kind of been emerging as potentially the greatest challengers to Arsenal this season. And you watched and you thought they're not ready. Pep's reaction, Newcastle won. Pep's reaction afterwards, arguing with the cameraman, arguing with Bruno Guimaraes, told you that perhaps he too doesn't think that. It's difficult to see who can get a hold of them in the Premier League, and they are top of the Premier League right now. And yes, we are in November. They're top of the Champions League. In the two formats that amongst the highest level of football at club level that you can find. They've played 17 games, won 14, drawn 2, lost 1, goals 4, 38 and against 7. It's a phenomenal start of the season. They've done much of that they're playing at the minute without Havertz or Gabriel Jesus or Gyökeres, without a centre forward still. Mikel Arteta has received criticism in the past for that failure to deliver a trophy, but what he is building here looks like it's much more solid than throwing the odd cup into the boardroom. They look at the minute like they, as Henry said, the squad keeps getting stronger. Madueke and Eze have been really, really good offensive signings in the summer. That makes them much more dangerous. They have this, I think the free kick they've scored tonight means they've scored more free kicks than any team in Europe. It may not be my favourite way of watching football, but it gives them another bit of strength to their armoury. They will fight you if you want now because they're much stronger than they were a few years ago with Arteta, but they also have brilliant footballers. And as Henry just touched upon there, Martin Odegaard is one of my favourite players to watch. They are doing this without him, and the record when he plays, I think they win twice as many games as the percentages twice as high. He will be crucial as well. A long, long way to go, but so many good signs for Arsenal and their supporters at the minute.
OK, that's two of the three English teams that are in action tonight in the Champions League. The other was Spurs, and what a goal fest there was at the Parc des Princes against the reigning European champions PSG. 5-3 losers at Spurs in that one. You can see it there on the right-hand side of the back page of the Mirror. Spurs get hit by Vit after a Vitinha hat-trick. And it was Martin, it was twice that Spurs led in this game, unable to hold on, perhaps reflective of their season.
Yeah, I posted a video of a throw-in when they were losing 3-1 against Arsenal on Sunday in the big North London derby, just to highlight how passive they were. Nobody really wanted the ball. The ball went back within 25 seconds of a Tottenham throw-in that nobody wanted. Arsenal had scored and Eze had finished his hat-trick and it was 4-1 and game over. The surprise I got was the size of the reaction and the fact that a lot of it was from Tottenham fans who said this is not good enough, this style of play is not good enough. So yes, it's a defeat tonight for Tottenham, but at least they put a shift in. They give PSG, probably you would say now along with Arsenal and Bayern Munich as the favourites for the Champions League, they give them a game tonight. And yes, they fell away late on. But Thomas Frank, who, if you look at league tables in terms of the Champions League and the Premier League, you would say has made a decent start, doesn't appear to have won over certain sections of the support. I think going there tonight, playing 5 at the back, having faced that kind of criticism was quite a big call from him. He, in recent weeks, has said, if you give me time, I will build a football team. As we know, as Henry and I know, a lot of the time you do not get time to build that team and that squad that you want. It's not, obviously they've lost tonight, but to have seen a little bit of fight, desire, goals, they are still missing key players. We do have to remember that in Kulusevski, Solanke and Maddison. He needed a win, but he also needed a shift, and I think he got a little bit of that tonight.
OK, I want to turn our attentions now back to the back page of the Mail, where they're covering this Ronaldo story. The headline, FIFA risk legal action after let-off for Ronaldo. And after his red card, Henry, it seems as though he won't be serving the full 3-match ban straight away. He will be cleared to start the World Cup with Portugal next summer. What do you make of this?
Well, who knew that if you hit 226 international caps, that was the threshold for reprieves? Yeah, I mean, it's embarrassing, really. I think it undermines FIFA's disciplinary process. It's clearly all about marketing, and they want the star on the starter line for the World Cup. I think it's also a little bit embarrassing for Ronaldo, because Ronaldo's career has been based on hard work, dedication. Look at the shape of him at 40. He doesn't need people to give him shortcuts like this, and FIFA have given him one. Whether it's about politics, whether it's about Trump, obviously he was Ronaldo was in the White House recently. But look, it's marketing, it's money, and I think coming to Mike's very good piece, and Mike's very well sourced on these issues, is that if someone, whoever they get drawn against, Portugal get drawn against, they might say that for those first 2 games, well, hang on a sec, Ronaldo shouldn't be playing, and they might appeal that. So it could be live. The draw is next week? It might be interesting to see if any teams do respond to that. I don't think they will, and you can have an argument, are Portugal better with Ronaldo or without? That's a slightly longer argument, but it's embarrassing for FIFA, and it does slightly take away the edge from the World Cup a bit.
Okay, shortly coming to time, but we've got a couple of stories to get through. Back page of the Telegraph, they're covering Sheffield Wednesday here. The headline, as you can see it there, Ashley makes £20 million bid for Sheffield Wednesday. This is the former Newcastle owner, Mike Ashley, making a bid for Sheffield Wednesday, or of course in administration. He's had his initial bid rejected, may well come back with an increased offer. Now, Martin, I know you've covered the North East and you've covered Newcastle when Ashley was at the helm. What do you think the fans, possibly Sheffield Wednesday, would make of Mike Ashley coming back into football and owning their club potentially?
Given that Sheffield Wednesday, the gap to safety at the minute because of the points deduction, I think after tonight's results is now 20 points. How despised the former owner was, I think they would probably take anybody. I lived through the Ashley regime at Newcastle. A lot of it was painful, very flat, very little growth. What he would bring to Sheffield Wednesday.
Hardy from the Times. Welcome to you both. Let me catch my breath as I run you through the back pages. OK, I've caught my breath. Let's start with The Guardian. And as you can see, the headline there, Slot's Dutch disaster. After a terrible night for Liverpool in the Champions League, they lose 4-1 to PSV Eindhoven. It's the same story in The Express with the headline, Slot's lot have lost the plot. They also feature Arsenal's win against Bayern Munich and a goal fest in Paris as Spurs lose 5-3 to PSG. More coverage of Liverpool in the Telegraph as well. Plus news of former Newcastle owner Mike Ashley making a £20 million bid to buy Sheffield Wednesday. And is there a new special one at Chelsea? This is what the Metro are reporting. They reflect on Esteval's recent performances for the Blues, labelling him the special one. OK, I've caught my breath, gents. I think my coughing fit is over, so let's get straight into the Champions League, because what a night it was. The English clubs, an up and down night, shall we say. We'll start with Liverpool, who was not a good night for them. A third straight defeat in a row, Henry. Back of the Express here, Slot's lot, excuse me, have lost the plot. This is now the third game in a row where they've conceded 3 goals. Just how bad have things got for Liverpool, Henry?
Yeah, Jess, I think there'll be a lot of Liverpool fans who've been left speechless tonight by some of the defending. Kanate was poor for the third goal, promptly got subbed by Arne Slot. Virgil van Dijk, who for Liverpool over the last 6-7 years, probably even longer, has been such a leader. He's lost that aura. He's giving away mistakes. That's another penalty he's conceded. But all the sort of trademarks of Liverpool last season as they swept to that title, they're not there anymore. The intensity, the pressing, the leadership, the attacking play from fullbacks. Mo Salah, where's Mo Salah gone? It's really worrying. Now, look, the headlines over the next few days, in Martin's paper and I'm sure across Fleet Street, will be about Slot's future. But I'm sure Liverpool will stay firm. But this is really poor because the players have just lost something. I know they've lost Diogo Jota, but, they've got, and that's tragic. And we only know sort of how much that has affected them on a human level. There was a glimpse of it when Andy Robertson spoke after Scotland's victory. So clearly it is an issue. But, they've got to get on with. I mean, difficult to get on with life after what's happened to there, but they've got to get on with resurrecting this season, which is just going from bad to worse. They've now slipped out of the Champions League sort of seeded position, so it looks like they're going to have a playoff next year as well. So, look, it's terrible, but Slot's going to get all the stick for this, but the players have got to take responsibility too.
Yeah, they really do. It'll be interesting to hear what the players say in their post-match press conference, and indeed what Arne Slot says in his post-match press conference. Let's take you to the back of the Times. Their headline, "Shambolic Liverpool in crisis." Players booed off at Anfield after third consecutive bruising defeat. We saw, Martin, defensive frailties again from this Liverpool side. Kerkez and his defending problems, Van Dijk conceding a penalty, Konate at fault for one of the goals as well. How much is this down to mental issues? We know they're good players, mental issues. Perhaps the pressure of the situation is overwhelming them?
Well, a lot has changed in football, say, the last 20 or 30 years, but nothing causes alarm in a boardroom like a football ground empty before the finish and the sound of jeers at full time as Arne Slot faced as he walked onto the pitch. This is a crisis now, 9 defeats in 12, and Arne Slot yesterday said Liverpool is not a club where losing can become normal in any way. That second half performance, the players looked like they are used to conceding goals. It was interesting to hear Steven Gerrard's thoughts, who was at the game and seemed fairly supportive for much of the match, but towards the end and kind of in his summary said the defence that finished that game was Curtis Jones, Gravenbach, Van Dijk and Kerkez, and he said that is not a Liverpool back four and it never will be. It feels like this was supposed to be the season when Arne Slot's style of football came to the fore with those attacking signings that Liverpool made in what was at the time this glorious summer of spending with Alexander Isak and Wirtz and Hugo Ekitike and Kerkez as well. And there's only really Ekitike that has done anything out of that quartet. Feels like last season was the remnants of Jurgen Klopp's style managed very well by Arne Slot. This season feels more like they are trying to play Arne Slot's style of football, and it's kind of, you've gone from the heavy metal of Klopp to this kind of light jazz of Slot, and it has no intensity. So when they concede the fourth goal, which you can see when you watch that rerun back, there's no intensity from the players to get back. The back four, it's not a line, it's all over the place. There's no cohesion. You're talking about, is there unity inside that dressing room? Well, go and watch Alexander Isak sat on the bench when Szoboszlai equalises, and you'll find most people's houses have more excitement when the takeaway driver arrives than he showed that night. It's the faintest of claps at a time when they need everybody pulling together. They need spirit, desire. So yes, there is so much that appears to have gone wrong in a very short space of time. But to come back to the point at the beginning, they spent heavily in the summer to make this a more attacking team. And at the minute, I don't think anybody is quite sure what it is other than a losing team, and one that eventually Liverpool will not accept. The noises so far is that Arne Slot's position is safe, but it will not be safe as long as this run continues, where they are conceding goals. To concede and lose by 3 goals in 3 successive games will cause huge alarm inside the corridors of power at Liverpool. Defensively, they missed out on Mark Gay in the summer, and that actually is proven to be the most significant bit of transfer action for a club that spent £450 million. This really is a crisis, as that my paper, The Times' back page has said there. So it's going to be really interesting with hard games coming up to see what happens next. Nobody would have thought Liverpool playing away at West Ham would have been a difficult game when everybody in the summer said they were going to walk the title. But it's a massive, massive match now.
Yeah, it really is. Back page of the Telegraph, their headline, it's Code Red Slot. Humiliated Liverpool go from crisis to full-blown emergency. This is the 3rd loss on the bounce now. Before I get your opinions, Martin and Henry, let's hear from the man himself.
Arne, I thought first half the way you came back, you looked the likelier to go on and win that. So from your perspective, what changed second half that enabled PSV to regain the initiative?
Mainly the goal, I think. Although in the start of the second half, before they scored the goal, we already struggled more than in the first half. We had more problems, or I wouldn't say problem, but we had more difficulty in being as aggressive in the press as we were in the first half. That had a bit to do with Hugo Ekitike, who straight after half-time felt his back a little bit, and that's why his press wasn't as aggressive as the first 45 minutes. And I know because I follow the Dutch league, if you are not aggressive enough against PSV, they have players that can outplay you, because they're a very good team, very good football players on the ball. And that's what we saw in the second goal they scored. But again, after they scored the second goal, I think we had our chances to equalise. But not for the first time this season. We don't take the chances we have.
OK, so those are the words of Arne Slot immediately after that defeat. Henry, looking at his body language, hearing the tone of his voice and his cadence, it looks like he's out of answers. I mean, does he look like a man to you who knows what to do, how to take this team forward?
I mean, we only saw one clip there. I would hope that he would also, in the rest of the press conference and his television interviews, just show some anger, some hurt, because the Liverpool fans are streaming away, as Martin says, was streaming away early from Anfield. They will want to be feeling that. I think it's a time for hard work on the training ground to try and get Mark Gahey in, if they can, in January. But a lot of this is self-inflicted. I mean, Martin covered it very ably in the summer. Alexander Isak is clearly not fit. I mean, and that is his fault, and that is Liverpool's fault if they come in with a more acceptable bid for Newcastle United. He might have moved early. And you've probably got some angry Swedes listening in who are saying, well, actually, we could have done with him at the start of the season to help us with qualification. So no sympathy for Isak if he's not 100% fit. It was he who ruined his pre-season. And then if Liverpool had acted earlier, they would have got Mark Gahey, because Oliver Glasner, quite rightly, was talking to a very intelligent board, and particularly Steve Parish, and saying that, look, I will only countenance Mark Gahey, captain, lead centre-half, leaving if we can get someone else in. If Liverpool had acted earlier in the transfer window, they would have got Gahey, they would have got Isak. Might have taken a little bit longer, but they would have got him. And then they wouldn't have had these issues. But I think your point, Jess, earlier is completely right. There is a psychological issue here, whether it's something between the players and the manager. But let's remember, this is the manager of the year. We can't just throw Arne Slot out. And I'm always amused, well, not amused, but bemused by these debates about, let's get rid of the manager. Who are Liverpool going to bring in of sufficient quality to replace Arne Slot, the manager of the year, and get these players going again? So the players have got to take individual responsibility. The recruitment's got to be better and sharper if they can get the right people in, if they can get Gahey in January. But I think one person who is going to be on his way out is Ibrahima Konate.
Yeah, be interesting to see what, if anything, Liverpool do in the January transfer window. Henry and Martin, thank you for the moment. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be looking at more of the sports stories in the morning's papers, including this in The Sun. Noni's joy at first goal in statement win over Bayern. Stay with us. Hardy from The Times. Welcome to you both. Let me catch my breath as I run you through the back pages. OK, I've caught my breath. Let's start with The Guardian. And as you can see, the headline there, Slot's Dutch disaster. After a terrible night for Liverpool in the Champions League, they lose 4-1 to PSV Eindhoven. It's the same story in The Express with the headline, Slot's lot have lost the plot. They also feature Arsenal's win against Bayern Munich and a goal fest in Paris as Spurs lose 5-3 to PSG. More coverage of Liverpool in The Telegraph as well. Plus news of former Newcastle owner Mike Ashley making a £20 million bid to buy Sheffield Wednesday. And is there a new special one at Chelsea? This is what the Metro are reporting. They reflect on Esteval's recent performances for the Blues, labelling him the special one. OK, I've caught my breath, gents. I think my coughing fit is over, so let's get straight into the Champions League, because what a night it was. The English clubs, an up and down night, shall we say. We'll start with Liverpool, who was not a good night for them. A third straight defeat in a row, Henry. Back of the Express here, Slot's lot, excuse me, have lost the plot. This is now the third game in a row where they've conceded 3 goals. Just how bad have things got for Liverpool, Henry?
Yeah, Jess, I think there'll be a lot of Liverpool fans who've been left speechless tonight by some of the defending. Konate was poor for the third goal, promptly got subbed by Arne Slot. Virgil van Dijk, who for Liverpool over the last 6-7 years, probably even longer, has been such a leader. He's lost that aura. He's giving away mistakes. That's another penalty he's conceded. But all the sort of trademarks of Liverpool last season as they swept to that title, they're not there anymore. The intensity, the pressing, the leadership, the attacking play from fullbacks. Mo Salah, where's Mo Salah gone? It's really worrying. Now, look, the headlines over the next few days, in Martin's paper, and I'm sure across Fleet Street, will be about Slot's future. But I'm sure Liverpool will stay firm. But this is really poor because the players have just lost something. I know they've lost Diogo Jota, but, they've got, and that's tragic. And we only know sort of how much that has affected them on a human level. There was a glimpse of it when Andy Robertson spoke after Scotland's victory. So clearly it is an issue. But, they've got to get on with. I mean, difficult to get on with life after what's happened to there, but they've got to get on with resurrecting this season, which is just going from bad to worse. They've now slipped out of the Champions League sort of seeded position, so it looks like they're going to have a playoff next year as well. So, look, it's terrible, but Slot's going to get all the stick for this, but the players have got to take responsibility too.
Yeah, they really do. It'll be interesting to hear what the players say in their post-match press conference, and indeed what Arne Slot says in his post-match press conference. Let's take you to the back of the Times. Their headline, "Shambolic Liverpool in crisis. Players booed off at Anfield after third consecutive bruising defeat." We saw, Martin, defensive frailties again from this Liverpool side. Kerkez and his defending problems. Van Dijk conceding a penalty. Konate at fault for one of the goals as well. How much is this down to mental issues? We know they're good players. Mental issues. Perhaps the pressure of the situation is overwhelming them?
Well, a lot has changed in football, say, the last 20 or 30 years, but nothing causes alarm in a boardroom like a football ground empty before the finish and the sound of jeers at full time as Arne Slot faced as he walked onto the pitch. This is a crisis now, 9 defeats in 12, and Arne Slot yesterday said Liverpool is not a club where losing can become normal in any way. That second half performance, the players looked like they are used to conceding goals. It was interesting to hear Steven Gerrard's thoughts, who was at the game and seemed fairly supportive for much of the match, but towards the end and kind of in his summary said the defence that finished that game was Curtis Jones, Gravenbach, Van Dijk and Kerkez, and he said that is not a Liverpool back four and it never will be. It feels like this was supposed to be the season when Arne Slot's style of football came to the fore with those attacking signings that Liverpool made in what was at the time this glorious summer of spending with Alexander Isak and Wirtz and Hugo Ekitike and Kerkez as well. And there's only really Ekitike that has done anything out of that quartet. Feels like last season was the remnants of Jurgen Klopp's style managed very well by Arne Slot. This season feels more like they are trying to play Arne Slot's style of football, and it's kind of, you've gone from the heavy metal of Klopp to this kind of light jazz of Slot, and it has no intensity. So when they concede the fourth goal, which you can see when you watch that rerun back, there's no intensity from the players to get back. The back four, it's not a line, it's all over the place. There's no cohesion. You're talking about, is there unity inside that dressing room? Well, go and watch Alexander Isak sat on the bench when Szoboszlai equalises, and you'll find most people's houses have more excitement when the takeaway driver arrives than he showed that night. It's the faintest of claps at a time when they need everybody pulling together. They need spirit, desire. So yes, there is so much that appears to have gone wrong in a very short space of time. But to come back to the point at the beginning, they spend heavily in the summer to make this a more attacking team. And at the minute, I don't think anybody is quite sure what it is other than a losing team, and one that eventually Liverpool will not accept. The noises so far is that Arne Slot's position is safe, but it will not be safe as long as this run continues, where they're conceding goals. To concede and lose by 3 goals in 3 successive games will cause huge alarm inside the corridors of power at Liverpool. Defensively, they missed out on Mark Gay in the summer, and that actually is proven to be the most significant bit of transfer action for a club that spent £450 million. This really is a crisis, as that my paper, The Times' back page has said there. So it's going to be really interesting with hard games coming up to see what happens next. Nobody would have thought Liverpool playing away at West Ham would have been a difficult game when everybody in the summer said they were going to walk the tile. But it's a massive, massive match now.
Yeah, it really is. Back page of the Telegraph, their headline, it's code red slots. Humiliated Liverpool go from crisis to full-blown emergency. This is the 3rd loss on the bounce now. Before I get your opinions, Martin and Henry, let's hear from the man himself.
Arne, I thought first half the way you came back, you looked the likelier to go on and win that. So from your perspective, what changed second half that enabled PSV to regain the initiative?
Mainly the goal, I think. Although in the start of the second half, before they scored the goal, we already struggled more than in the first half. We had more problems, or I wouldn't say problem, but we had more difficulty in being as aggressive in the press as we were in the first half. That had a bit to do with Hugo Ekitike, who straight after half-time felt his back a little bit, and that's why his press wasn't as aggressive as the first 45 minutes. And I know, because I follow the Dutch league, if you are not aggressive enough against PSV, they have players that can outplay you, because they're a very good team, very good football players on the ball. And that's what we saw in the second goal they scored. But again, after they scored the second goal, I think we had our chances to equalise. But not for the first time this season. We don't take the chances we have.
OK, so those are the words of Arne Slot immediately after that defeat. Henry, looking at his body language, hearing the tone of his voice and his cadence, looks like he's out of answers. I mean, does he look like a man to you who knows what to do, how to take this team forward?
I mean, we only saw one clip there. I would hope that he would also, in the rest of the press conference and his television interviews, just show some anger, some hurt, because the Liverpool fans are streaming away, as Martin says, was streaming away early from Anfield. They will want to be feeling that. I think it's a time for hard work on the training ground to try and get Mark Gay in, if they can, in January. But a lot of this is self-inflicted. I mean, Martin covered it very ably in the summer. Alexander Isak is clearly not fit. I mean, and that is his fault, and that is Liverpool's fault if they come in with a more acceptable bid for Newcastle United. He might have moved early. And you've probably got some angry Swedes listening in who are saying, well, actually, we could have done with him at the start of the season to help us with qualification. So no sympathy for Isak if he's not 100% fit. It was he who ruined his pre-season. And then if Liverpool had acted earlier, they would have got Mark Gay, because Oliver Glasner, quite rightly, was talking to a very intelligent board, and particularly Steve Parish, and saying that, look, I will only countenance Mark Gay, captain, lead centre-half, leaving if we can get someone else in. If Liverpool had acted earlier in the transfer window, they would have got Gay, they would have got Isak. Might have taken a little bit longer, but they would have got him. And then they wouldn't have had these issues. But I think your point, Jess, earlier is completely right. There is a psychological issue here, whether it's something between the players and the manager. But let's remember, this is the manager of the year. We can't just throw Arne Slot out. And I'm always amused, well, not amused, but bemused by these debates about, let's get rid of the manager. Who are Liverpool going to bring in of sufficient quality to replace Arne Slot, the manager of the year, and get these players going? So the players have got to take individual responsibility. The recruitment's got to be better and sharper if they can get the right people in, if they can get Gay in January. But I think one person who is going to be on his way out is Ibrahima Konate.
Yeah, be interesting to see what, if anything, Liverpool do in the January transfer window. Henry and Martin, thank you for the moment. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be looking at more of the sports stories in the morning's papers, including this in The Sun. Noni's joy at first goal in statement win over Bayern. Stay with us. Hello again, you're watching Back Pages tonight, and welcome back to Henry Winter and Martin Hardy. Let's discuss Arsenal, because what a night it was for them. 3-1 winners against Bayern Munich, the only team now remaining in this Champions League group phase with a 100% record. And you can see that back page there in the Mail. Red hot. Gunners fire a warning to Euro rivals as Bayern are taken apart. Henry, this was a really impressive win for Arsenal against top European opposition.
Yeah, with Harry Kane, a former current Spurs legend, leading the attack, so they would have particularly enjoyed that. I mean, Bayern did produce a fabulous goal, sort of 20-pass move, but Madueke, I mean, how special is that going to be? I mean, I just went and checked to see how the petition that Arsenal fans started in the transfer window, Say No to Madueke. It's got 5,217 people have signed it, pleading with the club not to sign Madueke. I can't imagine there will be many more added to that tonight, plus he's already signed. And I just think that, he's a good player, and Arsenal are going to need the strength and depth this season. When you go to Arsenal nowadays, you look at the team sheet, but you look at the bench, and the bench has got so much talent. If you saw the goal that Max Dowman scored for was it the under-17s in the Youth League earlier today, the skill cutting in from the right, the talent that they have got, credit to Hale End, their academy there, and also to their recruitment. I mean, Gyökeres has not been playing recently, but what a signing he's been. Eberechi Eze, and this is the strength they've got. So Eze, who's been outstanding for the last month for Arsenal, he comes off. Martin Odegaard comes on. There's slight concern, obviously, with Trossard having to go off injured, but the strength in depth they've got. Miles Lewis-Skelly started today. Calafiori's been fantastic at left back for them recently. Mosquera has stepped in at the defence today, with Gabriel still out. So it's this strength in depth, it's this confidence. They've been building and building and building under Arteta towards this. And now top of the Premier League, top of the Champions League in this elongated stage of the season. And they've got the strength in depth. So look, they're not going to be crowing, they're not going to be booking any sort of parade buses yet, but they will be confident.
And Martin, with this strength in depth, it means, I assume, that you think that they can compete on all fronts and possibly end up with multiple trophies at the end of the season.
I watched Newcastle beat Manchester City on Saturday, and they'd kind of been emerging as potentially the greatest challengers to Arsenal this season. And you watched and you thought they're not ready. Pep's reaction, Newcastle won. Pep's reaction afterwards, arguing with the cameraman, arguing with Bruno Guimaraes, told you that perhaps he too doesn't think that. It's difficult to see who can get a hold of them in the Premier League. And they are top of the Premier League right now. And yes, we are in November. They're top of the Champions League. In the two formats that amongst the highest level of football at club level that you can find. They've played 17 games, won 14, drawn 2, lost 1, goals 4, 38 and against 7. It's a phenomenal start of the season. They've done much of that they're playing at the minute without Havertz or Gabriel Jesus or Gyökeres, without a centre forward still. Mikel Arteta has received criticism in the past for that failure to deliver a trophy, but what he is building here looks like it's much more solid than throwing the odd cup into the boardroom. They look at the minute like they, as Henry said, the squad keeps getting stronger. Madueke and Eze have been really, really good offensive signings in the summer. That makes them much more dangerous. They have this, I think the free kick they've scored tonight means they've scored more free kicks than any team in Europe. It may not be my favourite way of watching football, but it gives them another bit of strength to their armoury. They will fight you if you want now, because they're much stronger than they were a few years ago with Arteta, but they also have brilliant footballers. And as Henry just touched upon there, Martin Odegaard is one of my favourite players to watch. They are doing this without him, and the record when he plays, I think they win twice as many games as the percentages twice as high. He will be crucial as well. A long, long way to go, but so many good signs for Arsenal and their supporters at the minute.
OK, that's two of the three English teams that are in action tonight in the Champions League. The other was Spurs, and what a goal fest there was at the Parc des Princes against the reigning European champions PSG. 5-3 losers at Spurs in that one. You can see it there on the right-hand side of the back page of the Mirror. Spurs get hit by Vit after a Vitinha hat-trick. And it was Martin, it was twice that Spurs led in this game, unable to hold on, perhaps reflective of their season.
Yeah, I posted a video of a throw-in when they were losing 3-1 against Arsenal on Sunday in the big North London derby, just to highlight how passive they were. Nobody really wanted the ball. The ball went back within 25 seconds of a Tottenham throw-in that nobody wanted. Arsenal had scored and Eze had finished his hat-trick and it was 4-1 in game over. The surprise I got was the size of the reaction and the fact that a lot of it was from Tottenham fans who said this is not good enough, this style of play is not good enough. So yes, it's a defeat tonight for Tottenham, but at least they put a shift in. They give PSG, probably you would say now along with Arsenal and Bayern Munich as the favourites for the Champions League, they give them a game tonight. And yes, they fell away late on. But Thomas Frank, who, if you look at league tables in terms of the Champions League and the Premier League, you would say has made a decent start, doesn't appear to have won over certain sections of the support. I think going there tonight, playing 5 at the back, having faced that kind of criticism was quite a big call from him. He, in recent weeks, has said, if you give me time, I will build a football team. As we know, as Henry and I know, a lot of the time you do not get time to build that team and that squad that you want. It's not, obviously they've lost tonight, but to have seen a little bit of fight, desire, goals, they are still missing key players. We do have to remember that in Kulusevski, Solanke and Maddison. He needed a win, but he also needed a shift, and I think he got a little bit of that tonight.
OK, I want to turn our attentions now back to the back page of the Mail, where they're covering this Ronaldo story. The headline, FIFA risk legal action after let-off for Ronaldo. And after his red card, Henry, it seems as though he won't be serving the full 3-match ban straight away. He will be cleared to start the World Cup with Portugal next summer. What do you make of this?
Well, who knew that if you hit 226 international caps, that was the threshold for reprieves? Yeah, I mean, it's embarrassing, really. I think it undermines FIFA's disciplinary process. It's clearly all about marketing, and they want the star on the starter line for the World Cup. I think it's also a little bit embarrassing for Ronaldo, because Ronaldo's career has been based on hard work, dedication. Look at the shape of him at 40. He doesn't need people to give him shortcuts like this, and FIFA have given him one. Whether it's about politics, whether it's about Trump, obviously Ronaldo was in the White House recently. But look, it's marketing, it's money, and I think coming to Mike's very good piece, and Mike's very well sourced on these issues, is that if someone, whoever they get drawn against, Portugal get drawn against, they might say that for those first 2 games, well, hang on a sec, Ronaldo shouldn't be playing, and they might appeal that. So it could be live. The draw is next week? It might be interesting to see if any teams do respond to that. I don't think they will, and you can have an argument, are Portugal better with Ronaldo or without? That's a slightly longer argument, but it's embarrassing for FIFA, and it does slightly take away the edge from the World Cup a bit. OK, shortly coming to time, but we've got a couple of stories to get through. Back page of the Telegraph, they're covering Sheffield Wednesday here. The headline, as you can see it there, Ashley makes £20 million bid for Sheffield Wednesday. This is the former Newcastle owner, Mike Ashley, making a bid for Sheffield Wednesday, or of course in administration. He's had his initial bid rejected, may well come back with an increased offer. Now, Martin, I know you've covered the North East and you've covered Newcastle when Ashley was at the helm. What do you think the fans, possibly Sheffield Wednesday, would make of Mike Ashley coming back into football and owning their club potentially?
Given that Sheffield Wednesday, the gap to safety at the minute because of the points deduction, I think after tonight's results is now 20 points. How despised the former owner was, I think they would probably take anybody. I lived through the Ashley regime at Newcastle. A lot of it was painful, very flat, very little growth. What he would bring to Sheffield Wednesday.
Have a chat about what we saw in the Champions League, and I said so many stories. Arsenal, will come to them in a minute, but what went wrong for Liverpool tonight at Anfield? Liverpool 1, PSV 4. If Forest was bad at the weekend, Michael, was that even worse?
Oh, 100%, without a shadow of a doubt. And I probably didn't give PSV enough respect when you see them 13 games in the domestic league, 34 points. but I still expected Liverpool to turn up tonight and win and show a reaction. 9 defeats in 12 games. I mean, that is disastrous. That is a team that is lacking any self-belief, anything going forward. I look and think, here we go. We've got a response after 6 minutes from going behind. Defensively for set pieces, they always look vulnerable. But they responded from the penalty set back. And I thought, here we go, half-time, they get the goal. Very, very confident in wide areas. Pretty much what I saw at the weekend against Nottingham Forest. But then second half, I expected them to come out and hit the ground running. How wrong was I? There was only one team out there in the second half. And when they got the noses in front, PSV, they were absolutely dominant. And the goal probably summed it up. Junior goes past Salah as if he's not there. I mean, it's on the halfway line, so you think, all right, he's an attacking player, you don't have to defend. Trust me, when you're in the rut that they're in at this moment in time, you defend, you scrap, you fight, you kick the ball out of play, you do whatever you want to do to try and get a result, and they didn't show that. And the ball from from Junior that gets inside for Gus Till, Kirke switches off, he gets inside and he puts the ball in the back of the net. And from that moment, then you think, can they respond? And Liverpool just haven't got that fight at the moment, they haven't got the belief individually and collectively. And then the mistake from Kanate and he gets taken off. And I just look round and I think Arne Slot has to make changes now. He has to bring Robertson in, he has to bring Joe Gomez in, because these players, we touched on it before, all of us, about confidence, and they are low. This is a real challenging time for Arne Slot. Don't get me wrong, we touched on Diego Jota. They're real challenging time. But when you're a manager, you have to try and galvanise his team, you have to try and bring some belief back. And 9 defeats in 12 is really, really hard for him at this moment in time.
9 defeats in their last 12 games, 4 in the last 6 at Anfield, and that's their joint biggest Champions League defeat tonight, Michael. I heard Arne Slot say in the week, we are not the sort of club where losing can become the norm. You look at that, it's becoming the norm. Listen, we sat here and praised him for everything he did last season. Quite incredible, the impact he made in his first season in English football. But how long can this carry on for at Liverpool football?
Well, the next 3 league games, West Ham, Sunderland, Leeds. If he goes drastically wrong in those 3 games, Arne Slot will be in big trouble. Look, I'm not talking about getting rid of him. There will be big talks going on. I listened to Virgil van Dijk come out after the game at the weekend saying, look, individually you have to take responsibility. Of course you do as players. When you cross that white line and you were in a position at half-time, I would expect Arne Slot saying, lads, great response. You go down, what do you show? You show a desire and a fight, and they showed that. They showed anything but in the second half, and that is unacceptable. At Anfield, to lose 4-1 against PSV after being 1-1 at half-time, and they looked like they were in cruise control. I thought they were going to win it comfortably. And at this moment in time, they have to find something. They have to find an inner belief from yourself. You've got to go home, look at yourself and go, did I do enough there? Individually they didn't, and collectively. I don't care whether it be from back to front, Virgil van Dijk as a leader, people running past him. And I just think sometimes you try too hard. He was making decisions there that when I was going through hard times, this is one of the best centre-backs that I've spoken about ever to play in the Premier League. And we're just not seeing it at this moment in time.
Steven Gerrard's just been talking about it. He says that Liverpool back 4 that finished that game is not a Liverpool back 4. They've conceded 4 goals tonight. You talk about changes. I mean, clearly that's where it's got to start. But do the answers lie within, or is January the only way out of this?
Well, he's brought Frimpong in. He's injured. You've got Conor Bradley, who's injured. Those 2 players would start ahead of Curtis Jones at right back. It was Szoboszlai on Saturday against Nottingham Forest. I looked at the team before and I thought, he's probably played Kirkes to try and give him some confidence, because I'm sure Arne Slot thought, we'll turn up tonight, we'll put a good performance and we're back to winning ways. We'll leave Andy Robertson out, and I think Andy Robertson has to come into the team. Just to help Virgil van Dijk at this moment in time. Do you know what I mean? Andy Robertson looked like he was out the door in the summer, and I'm so glad he stayed, because all of a sudden he has one bad season after being there for what? I don't know, probably 10 years. Arguably one of the best left-backs in the world for many of them as well. Then all of a sudden he comes as a dip in form last year when they win the Premier League. How does that happen? Kirkes comes in because he does well, and I think he needs taking out the firing line. Pressure needs to be taken off at your time. Let some experience, let other people come in and take the roles and try and get this club back to where we all expect Liverpool to be.
With Kirkes, there's probably another 19 clubs who would have took Kirkes.
Yeah, but we talk about managers being at a Brentford, a Bournemouth, a Brighton. You're going to Liverpool, one of the best clubs in the world. Scrutiny is on you, week in, week out, minute after minute. And if you're not winning, and that's not Kirkes' fault, don't get me wrong, I'm not putting it all on the new players. Kirkes, Vert, Ekitike, Isak. You need to have it collectively to try and get this winning mentality, and it helps. And at this moment in time, they're all struggling.
Liverpool have lost 3 in a row by 3 goals or more for the first time since December 1953 after a 4-1 defeat to PSV. Let's get his thoughts now with Emma Dodds.
Arna, can you sum up your emotions for us right now after that defeat?
Nah, that's always, and last week's every time the same question. Yeah, the emotions are very negative and disappointing. After, I'm looking at the screen now, I see the way we conceded 1-0. But I have to be, I want to be positive about the reaction of the players after we went 1-0 down, because I think till half-time we played a very good game. After another disappointment, we came back into the game. I think we had enough chances maybe to go 2-1 up. And at half-time, I don't think anyone would have expected us to lose this game 4-1.
What did Virgil say just on that penalty? Because he seemed very unhappy at the awarding of it, feeling that he'd been fouled.
I think he got a little push, and that's I think what I saw, what he wanted to say to the referee. That little push unbalanced him, that's why he raised his arm and made the handball. But yeah, I don't think the VAR will ever overturn a small push like that.
Like you said, that the reaction to that and then managing to get yourself level, did you feel at that point that you had the capabilities and even the chances thereafter to go on and turn this game around?
Yeah. Yeah, we did till half-time, and then after half-time we conceded quite early the 2-1, where I think after us conceding the 2-1 we still had a few good chances to go 2-2, but yeah, then 10-15 minutes before the end I think conceded another goal, and yeah, hard to take.
Mm-hmm. How do you combat the fragility that seems to set in when you do concede and obviously have to try and recover in matches?
Yeah, that's not always easy, but that's why I say after we conceded the first one, I think we saw the reaction I want to see, and it's not easy because we lost, of course, in the weekend, big loss, and then after 3 minutes going 1-0 down. So the mentality I saw afterwards was as you were hoping it to be, but it's not always so easy if you had so many disappointments. Even after the 2-1, I think we kept trying. We were close to scoring the 2-2. But yeah, end result is 4-1, and that's of course another big loss.
You knew exactly what PSV were going to bring to this game, but would you say with the way the game unfolded there was a difference in the way the teams reacted mentally and physically to situations?
You're talking about us now, or?
Yeah.
I don't exactly understand. Can you ask one more time?
Just the way PSV played and the way they reacted, you know, in the transition, they were very fast. But do you think there was a difference between the way Liverpool players reacted in the transition?
I liked the way we reacted in transition in the first half a lot. I think almost every time we won the ball back, we could keep them on their half almost all the time. And there were parts of the second half that we weren't able to, especially the start of the second half. It felt, I constantly felt, what's wrong with Hugo? It felt as if he couldn't move as he did the first half, so that's why our press was, I think, also a little bit off. And he just told me that, yeah, in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the first half, he already felt his back too much. That's also why he had to go out. But not that it's only about him, but we couldn't bring the same, in the first 5 to 10 minutes, the same power in our pressing as we did in the first 45.
It's another game conceding, 3 goals or more now, the third one in a row. I know we spoke yesterday and you said, you were trying to find solutions. Where do you go from here now, ahead of another huge game at the weekend?
The only way to go is to go through now. And what I mean with that is, yeah, we just have to face where we are in and fight really hard. And would be nice if we don't every time get this knock of a goal we concede, because it's not only conceding a goal, it's also the feeling, I think, at least the feeling I have, and I think the players will probably have the same in our fans as well, that after 45 minutes you don't expect to be 1-1, you expect to be up. And instead of being up 5 minutes after half time, again we concede, or 10 minutes, I don't know exactly, but so yeah, that's hard. But like I said, the reaction of the players, especially in the first half and after the 2-1, was the reaction you expect from a Liverpool player. But yeah, I said it many times now, end result is 4-1.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
3-0 for Chelsea at home, and obviously a real litmus test for Enzo Maresca and his team against a side like Barcelona. What was it Micah said before the game? He said Chelsea will destroy Barcelona.
I thought with Barcelona, they might control the game in terms of the tempo and everything, but if you defend like that, you're going to get punished, and Chelsea punish them tonight.
Maresca's doing a brilliant job with the squad that he's got. I still don't think the squad is like, oh yeah, Mike has shown me. So the fourth in the Champions League group stages as well, league phase. Listen, I still think Chelsea is short in terms of winning the Champions League or the Premier League, but I think Maresca's doing a brilliant job with the squad he's got. It's not a bad squad, it's a good squad, but I think he's doing, well, certainly in the 18 months he's been at the club, I think he's done a brilliant job. A lot of managers find it tough. Don't forget the jump he's made. He's gone from the Championship with Leicester to Chelsea. That is a huge jump for a manager, and some managers find that tough, going from a smaller club in the Premier League to the top of at a top club in the Premier League. But he knows how to coach top-level football. Whether he'll eventually win a Premier League or a Champions League, who knows? There's a lot of competition in both competitions. But this guy he's got here, I think in the next few years, I think this fella's going to be a superstar. I felt that before the game, but I haven't watched him tonight. Obviously, Yamal was on the opposite side of him, if you like, but he's the one who stole the show.
Esteval, you've talked about him. Thierry, how much do you enjoy watching the young man play?
I love a player that has a go at his fullback. When he gets the ball, there is no nonsense. He goes, he turns, he goes, he will see what's in front of him. There is no, like, that's what I'm saying at one point. We were talking about it on the show that we were together, Jamie, the other day. I was like, a guy like that, you have to let him paint. When I say about that, is cooking. Like, you don't go to the house of a painter and tell him to do what he needs to do. Let him paint, and then he will. You said you love the frame or you don't love the frame of what he did, you know, or the drawing or whatever he did. Let him cook. This is what he's doing. Allow him to dribble.
Is he painting pictures?
Everything. He's painting everything. The way is like, you wouldn't like to play against him. Not because I'm not saying that you won't be able to stop him, but he's coming at you all the time. He's reminding me of that's early doors. That's why I think Ryan Giggs was one of the best, because he's coming at you the whole game. Whether he's having a good game or not a good game, he's trying to test you all the time and see if you're going to stop him or not. And that's how it is as a winger.
Will the frustration be for you then? Because I think what the point you've been trying to make, I think probably for the last year, is there's not enough players who excite you and get you off your seat. Is the worry that because he's young and he's maybe playing a bit free, that the longer he's with, I'm not saying Maresca, but coaches, that ends up getting coached out of him a little bit? Do you think that's the problem? That it's actually coaches taking this away from players, the longer they're sort of with them in the team?
I do think so, because coaches at times are scared of transition, counter-attack, playing against a low block. You know, if you lose the ball too early, you're going to get done being open. But the first quality of the kid is to dribble. Why are you going to take that away? For me to be able to make you tired or take advantage of what I've done, it's like if you stop a boxer to jab. Like, how is he going to work? Like, if I don't go at you 5 to 6 to 7 times, you stop me, how am I going to have the 8th time? You go to the 8th time, you're like, oh, I can see he's tired now. 9th time, he doesn't want me anymore. 10, 11, it's easy. Then I score at the end because you're tired. If I don't make you run, I pass the ball all the time. It's an easy job for you as a right back or a left back. Let him cook, let him play. We need to enjoy this type of players and type of games. You know, I mentioned Michael Olise, Bukayo Saka. It's not always, it doesn't have to be scripted all the time. Pass the ball, don't lose it.
Did you say that to them? When you was managing Elise, and
yes, I said
as well. That's that type of player.
I said to Desiree Doué, and I think I said it on the show. I don't remember. I put him on against Egypt. Semi-final, we're losing. I put him on because I think he's very good in 1v1. The game has changed. I needed someone to go and a thing anymore. It was very different game. So I said, you come on. Whenever you have the ball, you have a go. I don't really care. Have a go. 1v1 will put you. Do what you have to do. You pass the ball 1 time back, 2nd time back. I said, if you do that again, you come out. I made you just lose the ball. Do something. Next thing you know, after that, yellow, over yellow, right back, sent off. We won the game. Like, what made you arrive there? Dribbling. So why are you going to speak to the guy in a negative way? Don't do that. Don't do it.
I think the most difficult thing in football, people can have different opinions, but I think actually dribbling. I think even if you watch football, even great teams, they'll only have one player in the team who can really dribble. Most players will get it and pass
Nowadays,
it.
yeah.
And when you've got someone who can do it, that's why we love Maradona. That's why it's just like when you see goals, like he's probably still got the most famous goal in football that everybody knows about, the goal against England, because you don't see players do that. It's so difficult. Even though we've all played at the top level, we know how difficult it is to dribble through players. That's why you're revered as the greatest player to play in the Premier League, because you've scored goals and you've done things that no one else can do. People can score a great goal, or can be lucky, or can be quick, or can defend, or can play a nice pass. We can all do that. We've all done that on occasions. But no one, you can't dribble. If you can't dribble, you can't dribble. You can't go past players. And that's what makes it something. That's what I think it's so special to see somebody have that ability.
I agree. You know, there is that myth that now people talk about speed and how quick were you and who is the fastest. Who cares if you can control the ball? Like I've seen a lot of players that are fast, but they disturb the fan, they disturb the linesman. Ball goes, they go out, ball control out. That guy, when he runs, Ryan Giggs when he used to run, Robert Pires when he used to run, they never used to lose speed while they had the ball at their feet. This is not rugby on American football. Ball is here. I'm not running with the ball here. People can, you know, in rugby, on American football, I'm not saying it's easy, I'm saying it's way more difficult to run with the ball at your feet and keep control of the ball, head up, C360. It's not an easy one. That's more valuable for me than you're fast. You need to be fast here. And if you're fast here and you're fast, good with your feet, and you can run also, and by any means, you're in trouble playing against that guy.
Oh, we were in trouble.
Oh.
Very big problems.
Oh, so it was a good night for Chelsea, all in all. Let's take you out to Stamford Bridge, because scorer of Chelsea's third goal tonight, that's right, Liam Delap is with us. Woo! Welcome to the show. Putting 3 past Barcelona, you yourself putting 1 past Barcelona. That's got to feel like a good night of football, does it?
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's right. I came to this club for incredible moments like this, and we showed together today that we're a team and really together. So yeah, really proud.
Liam, the start of the season, you've been a little bit in and out. You've obviously had the injury, a couple of indiscretions maybe with the referees at different times. But what's it been like, that jump to Chelsea? Obviously, you come from Ipswich. A little taste of the Premier League.
And Man City.
No, listen, we understand that, and you got your Man City head on. But what's it been like playing for one of the biggest clubs, obviously in this country, and obviously, you know, a European champion twice?
Yeah, you know, it's been a really big jump, but I think, you know, I've been welcomed here really well, and you know, I know a lot of people here, and they've really helped me. Obviously, I had a frustrating start with the injury, but hopefully now I can just kick on and, you know, start doing and having more moments like tonight.
Liam, congratulations. This is Thierry here. I just wanted to for you to talk a bit about the way you went as a team at Barcelona, because it looked like you were not scared. You went to put pressure. You had a go. You didn't sit and let them control the game. You know, you were dictating the game on and off the ball. So I wanted you to talk a bit about that, and please be nice with Arsenal at the weekend.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, you know, we had a game plan. We know they play a really high line, and they've got really good attacking players. So we knew we had to be really defensively solid and then take our opportunities when we could go in behind. And you know, I think everyone on the pitch tonight, defensively and attacking, did really well, and you know, the game plan worked.
Liam, can I just ask you, your accent? It sounds a little bit south, a little bit north. What's your accent all about? Where you from? I know your dad, but what's going on?
Blame him. He's moved me about too much. Yeah, no, I don't know. A mix of everything. I've obviously moved about with him, and you know, grew up in Manchester and all over, to be fair. So I don't really know what it is, but it is what it is.
Liam, I love watching you play as a centre forward. You're like a throwback, almost like an old-fashioned centre forward. You rough people up, you knock people about. I mean, is that something you think you might have to curb a little bit, you know, the way the game is now, with maybe referees and maybe, you know, yellow cards, or how much of that can you keep in your game, do you think, going forward?
Yeah, I think, you know, I can obviously keep a lot of it. You know, that's been me. That's always been me from, you know, the day I can remember. I've loved bouncing people around and, you know, using my strength. But I think obviously, like I showed the other week, you know, I've got to be careful because there's lots of eyes everywhere, and you know, I just got to, you know, sort it out and make sure that, you know, I still keep my strength, but also, you know, I'm sensible with it and don't be giving away silly fouls or getting to the yellow cards and obviously red.
Well, what teams don't want to do this season is not just give away silly fouls, is give away silly throw-ins. Now, you know where I'm going with this one. Is there any chance your dad, Rory Delap, could make a comeback at some stage this season in the Premier League? Because it feels like every team in the league wants somebody who can take a long throw-in.
Yeah, I know. I think, you know, he'd probably be worth a lot of money nowadays. But yeah, no, he's probably too old now. But you know, he was here tonight, so I'm happy that he was here, and you know, he can watch me now, my little brother. So yeah, I'm sure he's proud.
Well, no, I was about to thank you. The producers want me to thank you, but I've got a couple of more questions. The trim's looking magnificent. Where did you get that done, sir?
Just round there.
Oh,
One
yeah?
of the boys. Yeah.
Okay. And obviously you must watch the show. I know you're on Instagram and all that, and you know the social media.
Do you follow each other?
Well, no, I follow him.
DMs?
I follow him.
Oh, have you not followed them back?
I've not seen it.
I followed him. So you know the show and all that. So we want to know who's your favourite on the show.
I don't know. City connections. I might have to stick with that.
Oh! Say it loud and proud, baby. But on a serious note, congratulations.
Thank you.
All the best for the rest of the season.
You guys be nice with Arsenal. Be nice with Arsenal, guys.
I'm not sure.
Congratulations. Great achievement getting that goal against Barca, mate. Well done.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Liam, thank you so much. Good to see you.
Thank you. Bye.
Lovely.
If you met him on holiday, would you say he's a very nice lad?
He looks a nice boy, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
What defines a nice lad?
You can just look at them, you can tell.
What do you mean?
You can see it in his eyes. He's
Salt to the earth.
So why McTominay's a nice lad? Why? Because
he looks humble.
Okay.
He's not giving it big time.
Do I look
He's not
humble?
buying big fancy watches and silly cars.
Says a man with a Rolex on.
We said there about a start of a big week, and it's just played into Chelsea's hands tonight. It finished off with Ole football, cheers from the crowd, even just giving players like Neto, Reece James, Esteval, time to recover before the big weekend. And they've been to a man from start to finish. Honestly, Jules, they was absolutely sensational. Out of possession, the way that I would describe them would be like a pack of wild dogs. And leading that pack, no lie, was Cucurella, because he did not give Lamine Yamal one bit of space tonight. When they get on that plane on the way home tonight, Barcelona, before Yamal gets on that flight, Cucurella's going to be in his seat, right? Because he was that much all over him. Honestly, it was outstanding. So that there has just got to be now a platform for the rest of the week for them to go. Huge weekend, go in there with confidence. But tonight, they blew Barcelona out of the water.
And if they play like that against Arsenal, can they beat them?
Listen, they was brave tonight. They knew that Barcelona was going to play a high line, so they could afford to get on the front foot. But we're talking, like as I said there, Cucurella going all the way in with Lamine Yamal, other players getting close, getting tight. When you give great players on the world stage no time and space, nobody can kind of deal with that. They've got to be exceptional to play their way around it. So if they go into that weekend with the same manner as tonight, then it's going to be really hard for Arsenal.
And obviously it was billed as the battle of the two 18-year-olds, Yamal up against Esteval, and he's trumped him, hasn't he, tonight?
Esteval was superb, and again, he's been the go-to man for Chelsea. They love him, the fans there, especially at the bridge. And he's just one of them players that as soon as he gets the ball, you just feel like something's going to happen. He's just a bright spark. He's got that goal that can unlock defences. He's getting to grips with the Premier League and the physicality and the working hard as well. So the moment, the way the Project Esteval is in full flow.
Yeah,
I'm loving it.
Second goal was brilliant, wasn't it? Last time Chelsea beat Barcelona in the Champions League, they went on to win the competition. Hashtag just saying. That was the semi-final, though. A bit of a longer wait to go with this one. But, yeah, very, very, very impressive for Barcelona. And just to demonstrate how impressive it was, not only to beat them, but not to concede to Barca, they had scored Barcelona in their last 53 games in all competitions, going back to December of last year when they failed to score against Leganés. 24 Champions League games without failing to score before tonight, but they will leave Stamford Bridge with absolutely nothing. Chelsea doing a job on them, beating them by 3-0 tonight.
Gary Neville podcast on an eventful evening at Old Trafford. Gary, where to start? How about we start with the red card? We don't see incidents like that too often. Only the third time in the Premier League that a player's been sent off for, inverted commas, fighting their own teammates. Thoughts on that to begin with?
Should we start with the worst decision of the weekend? Me agreeing to do a second podcast yesterday, thinking United were going to go fourth. Yeah, of course it will be nice. That let the traffic go. Talk about United are back. Yeah, the red card. I'm torn between the referee making the right decision by the letter of the law. He's obviously slapped his own player. Whether you slap your own player or an opposition player, then that point around, is it negligible, subjective, versus I just felt like it could have been avoided, and it could have been one that I think a yellow card, everyone would have said, okay, get on with it. The thing is, I think that actually the problem maybe for Idrissa Gueye was that he had gone, hadn't he? His head had gone a little bit. Now, I think it went more after the red card appeared, because I think he realised then what had happened. But yeah, an odd situation, something that's never nice to see. We've seen it only a couple of times or so in history of Premier League football. So very unusual, but it wasn't like a massive scrap where you think, right, get them both off. It was just a little bit of a tap, wasn't it? It was like the edge of his sort of fingers, and yeah, didn't have the best view of it either. So you're thinking to yourself, well, how much of a slap was it? But look, he's given the referee a decision to make. He's right on top of it, the referee, and he put his team, you would have imagined, in a very bad position, but didn't quite work out like that.
I mean, you feared for Everton at that point. They'd made a strong start in the game, but after that, they were fantastic, starting with the goal from Dewsbury Hall. Yeah,
I mean, it was a great goal, but that first 12 minutes, you're right, they were really good. They were authoritative from the beginning. They were quicker to the ball. They pushed high up the pitch. They were pressing well. United never got going in that first 12 minutes, but like you say, the red card, you're thinking, okay, how are Manchester United going to play? But I just thought that it was a mixture from Everton of really good defending, really good shape, really good energy, frustrated United, but also I thought that when they got on the ball through Ndiaye, Dewsbury Hall and Grealish, and Barry up front being a bit of a sort of battering ram and someone who flicked it on, I thought they did really well. I thought Garner was fantastic in midfield. They all took the ball. They didn't just pump it forward. They were a bit backs to the wall in the second half, as you'd expect. But I thought after the red card in the first half, they played some really good stuff, particularly down here in front of us through Ndiaye. And look, they deserved the goal. I mean, it was coming. There was a couple of minutes before that where Dewsbury Hall, I think, had got involved as well. He cuts inside. He puts it into, I'm not going to say the far corner because it wasn't. I thought the goalkeeper probably should have done better with it. But look, they deserved it, Everton. I thought that they were absolutely magnificent in that first half after the red card to respond to what is quite a challenging situation, not just going down to 10 men, but the way in which you've gone down to 10 men, which can, to be fair, I mean, the rails, you can basically, you can fall apart after something like that, and they didn't do. I thought they were fantastic from a mentality perspective, a shape perspective, a physical perspective, a defensive. They were absolutely brilliant. I have not got enough words for how Everton played tonight. And those Everton fans that we can hear in that far corner that are being kept in, they should be unbelievably and will be and are unbelievably proud tonight, because they've seen some bad performances here down the years. I've seen some Everton teams come here and wilt, so poor, beaten before they actually even get out of the tunnel, because they're so deep in the game, so back foot, so glass half empty. And you've seen tonight from the first minute that back four pushed up, they were ready for it. They fancied it a little bit, and they fancied it a lot more than those red shirts. And David Moyes, obviously someone who's never beaten Manchester United at Old Trafford, has finally done it in quite unexpected circumstances. Unexpected before the game that you thought they were going to win, but certainly unexpected having gone down to 10 men. So, yeah, you talk about Everton. I watched them a few weeks ago at... Unless at Goodison Park then. At Goodison Park. I'm going to carry on calling it Goodison Park. The Hill Dickinson Stadium. Yeah, it's a couple of weeks ago at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. A few weeks ago at Hill Dickinson Stadium against Tottenham. And not a lot happened for them on that day. It was a difficult day for them. But tonight, it's a magical night. Absolutely memorable. And like I say, there's 3,000 or 4,000 of those Everton fans over in that far corner who are going to go back to Merseyside tonight and be absolutely buzzing. Absolutely buzzing.
Well, there's a lot fewer Manchester United supporters in the ground. Now the hard bit about their display tonight. You were particularly frustrated during the commentary about Amorim's reaction to the situation and not maybe the substitutions, the positioning of players?
Well, look, we can start with the manager, but I think we must start with the players. You have to, when you're playing football at the Premier League, I'm not even going to say at Manchester United, I'm just going to say at Premier League and professional level, you've got to adapt to the circumstances within the game. In the first half, I mentioned it looked as if they didn't know, they'd not planned how to play with 10 men. And I'm probably, to be fair, letting them off the hook, the players there, with regards to, well, it's pretty damn obvious, isn't it, how you play with 10 men? You shift the ball a bit, well, you shift the ball quicker, you shift it from side to side, you switch play, you stretch the pitch and make it as big as possible, and this pitch always feels big at Old Trafford. You make sure that you literally run the other team ragged. Manchester United kept, at times, 3 and 4 and 5 players, maybe not behind the ball, but maybe behind, well, just a one Everton player with Barry up front. The 3 at the back had to form differently. They had to change. Now, that doesn't mean to say, I know that Ruben Amorim has said he'll never change his 3 at the back system. I get it. But I'm sorry. Luke Shaw has to go forward and play like a left winger. He has to. Bring Euro round with De Ligt. Make sure that they mark Barry. Snuff him out. One of you pick him up. Get tight. One of you drop off behind. Make sure he doesn't get the ball. And Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes move forward. Make sure you don't play again too deep. And the rest of the players, to be fair, make sure you try and create some form of overload. I mean, I played here as 10 men a lot of times. And quite simply, you would never see me back. I'd be literally as wide as possible with either David Beckham or Antonio Valencia or Cristiano Ronaldo on that right-hand side. And Ryan Giggs and Dennis Irwin or Patrice Evra would be as wide as possible on this side. And you'd leave basically Scholes in there, literally switching play, which Bruno Fernandes can do, and you'd have that 4 in midfield of Everton charging from side to side, and eventually you work them, you fatigue their legs, you get bodies in the box. Manchester United left 1 man up front all night in Xerxes. They had to have 2 up. Just forget the 2 up from a point of view of changing your system, Ruben. 2 up from a point of view of when there's crosses going in the box, you've got presence. You know, I know that Tarkowski and Keane, what you're trying to do with Tarkowski and Keane, he's not asking necessarily for players to go and beat them in the air, because they're better than probably Manchester United's players that were on the pitch. What you're asking to do is occupy them. You're occupying the centre-backs. And I'm going to go back and say, let's pretend that's Cole and York. They're not going to beat 2 giant centre-halves in the air, but they can occupy the centre-backs, which means that someone else can maybe make a run in and get the goal. Casemiro or whoever. And I just thought United was so pedestrian and so negative, having gone to 10 men. You've got to flood forward. It's got to be like the Alamo when you're playing against 10 men. And they still kept this 3 at the back. All right, Luke Shaw ambled forward a little bit. I was particularly harsh on Luke Shaw, less so on Euro, because Euro is a centre-back. Luke Shaw's not a centre-back. Luke Shaw is a left-back who can go forward and go forward well, and actually's got a good left foot. So you be the one who dominates and goes forward on that left-hand side. Euro comes round a little bit. You don't want him on this right-hand channel in the ball, which we saw for so much in the second half. And he's just playing passes. He's not capable of doing that. That's not his game. So I was harder on Shaw. I thought Shaw was so disappointing in the second half. I thought the substitution, and I'm riffing now, in no particular order as I feel it. Bringing Dalot on that far side and blocking that side off. I know Dorgu was having a tough night. He wasn't great at all. But at least he's got a left foot. But putting Dalot on meant that all of a sudden that he's having to turn back the way on his right foot and play around. Now, he's a capable player, Diogo Dalot. He's not a left wing back though. He's not a left winger. He's finding himself as a left winger. Dalot is not a left winger. And I just think the only player that I could say that maybe had anything about him, Ahmad showed a little glimpse of something. It was nowhere near good enough. That was a really bad night for United. It was an embarrassment at times.
Have you touched on part of the issue, though, a personnel issue, perhaps? They weren't able to have those substitutes to bring on that could... You mentioned the likes of Ronaldo and Beckham and Valencia. They don't have those players available to them all.
I wasn't referring to those players in terms of quality, and they should be... I was referring about the actual positions that the players who were out there should have been in. Look, they've got injuries. Sesko's injured, Cunha's injured, but forget that. There's no excuses tonight, by the way. I'm not entertaining that one bit. You know, you think about Everton's squad, they lost Seamus Coleman after 1 minute, 2 minutes. They had a man sent off. No excuses. Let's not start that game. I think we need to be very careful. Look, United have got players missing, but so has every other club. Everton dominated them with 11 men and with 10 men in a different way of domination, but they dominated them through their fight and their spirit. I thought that was a Manchester United team tonight who have come here off the back of a decent run, a decent sort of international break between October and November, and maybe we've all fallen into that trap of just thinking United are back, there's a bit of expectancy, they're going to go up to 4th or 5th in the league, level with Villa, they're going to be 21 points, they're going to be ahead of Liverpool. We're all thinking it. Let's be clear, let's be honest with ourselves. Why wouldn't we think it? You're playing against Everton, who we ordinarily, to be fair, beat here. And it's complacency. And complacency will kill you. The minute that you think, as a football player, that you just have to turn up on that pitch and you're Manchester United and you can play, or any football club, you're done. And they've turned up tonight off the back of an international break. They've had a full 5-6 days break all together. It's been perfect. You couldn't ask for any more. There's no international football that's interfered with this build-up. There's no European football for them. They've had the perfect amount of time to really prepare for this match. And it's as if they've imagined in their heads they're going to be in the Champions League places. And they've thought that maybe before the game. And it just smelt of complacency. From minute one, actually. They weren't at it from the beginning. I mean, that first 12 minutes before Idrissa Gueye got sent off, Everton were by far the better team. Quicker to the ball, sharper, more positive, looked more intent about them. And that is a bad one for United. And look, I actually think they've been a lot better in the last few weeks. I think that probably takes us back to Brentford away. And you can't go from here, good standards, and the fight that they showed in certain games in that period between Liverpool, the Liverpool game, the Forest game, the Tottenham game. You can't go from that to that. It erodes confidence. It erodes trust. It erodes trust. We're trying to build a trust in a manager. We're trying to build a trust in a team. And tonight, the fans have left that game. I mean, they booed collectively at the end. It was a loud, and rightly so. I mean, that was a really poor performance. But it erodes trust, and tonight you lose a lot again. It's almost as if you've gone sort of like 2 or 3 steps forward. Everyone's feeling a little bit better about themselves, and you've just gone back to the start again. And look, there's a long way to go, and to be fair, it's a tight league, and everyone's being inconsistent. Everyone's beating one another. There's only Arsenal really that are demonstrating a level of consistency that you would say is really acceptable by all the top clubs. So there'll be, opportunities to correct it and put it right. But you can lose football matches, but you can't lose them like that. You can't lose them like that. That's nowhere near good enough. It's not acceptable.
Shall we end with another word for Everton, who moved above Liverpool with this win tonight, which is huge for them at this stage of the season. First time in 10 years they've been in this sort of position. And, of course, for David Moyes with his first win as a visiting manager at Old Trafford.
Yeah, and he's just there doing his interview, and look, he had a bad time here, a difficult time here, and he's had a difficult time playing here with other teams. But he can be so proud tonight. Not just proud of how they have demonstrated a fight and a spirit and a resilience and a really good physical level, but the intent of his team, intent pre the red card, but how his team took the ball and were brave after they went to 10 men. That was more impressive. They really did a good job, and they were really sort of got on the ball. And I've seen Everton teams come here down the years, and like I say, I've seen them where they've literally sort of been a bit half-hearted. They've not really felt it. They've had no belief in here. They had that tonight, and it's not just because they've won. It's not just because they've gone to 10 men. They had it before that. I just thought the first 10, 15 minutes when they were pushing up the pitch, they were pressing. They looked like they were getting after United. They deserved it. He set his team up really well. That should give them an enormous amount of confidence. And like you say, for them to be above Liverpool at this stage in the season, you would have imagined it. It's a brilliant position for Everton to be in. And yeah, like I say, I think that you can have no qualms tonight if you're a Manchester United fan. And if you're an Everton fan, it's a night that you deserve because your team did you absolutely proud. And played better. They played a better football match. Full stop. Sometimes you can get smash and grabs with 10 men. Sometimes you can get smash and grabs with 11 men when you're a team that are a little bit lower down the league and a little bit less quality than the team that you're playing as. That wasn't a smash and grab. That was a fully deserved victory. Well done to Everton.
Well, Gary, thank you very much for the bonus pod. Didn't go the way you would have wanted.
No, it was, it's... do you know something, Seb? you sometimes getting the balance right. You're a United fan, and you're trying to do a commentary where you're basically watching a football match, but you end up getting angry. You're angry because you've had that lived experience of being out there on that pitch and come on. You like that? You're thinking, come on, go forward. Just do something with intent. Do something like you mean it. And so much in that second half you could look at and think it was wrong. And sometimes you can't put words around it. You can't explain it. You're just watching it. And it's apathy. It's apathy. And look, you sometimes get emotional as you talk as a fan, and sometimes you can get that balance wrong. But like you say, from a point of view of watching the other team play, you look at Everton, who got full of admiration for them and deserved everything that they got tonight. But from a United perspective, you're thinking that you want your team to sort of just lift and go and grow and take the pressure off the manager, and that just takes it back. And we're at the start of the winter straight, the period of the season that I used to love most. Get the international breaks out of the way. You've got 10 or 15 games now without reply. Without international breaks, without a lot of European football at moments during this period. It finishes obviously in December. So it's a really enjoyable period of the season where the Premier League really gets into its stride. And you've got to set off on that straight really, really strong. And Everton have done that tonight, and Manchester United haven't.
It's a good way to end it, Gary.
Excellent.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
In the morning's newspapers. And joining us are the Sun's football reporter Jack Rosser, the Athletics football correspondent David Ornstein. Welcome to you both, guys. We'll hear from you shortly. Let's quickly run you through a couple of the back pages as we have them. Telegraph Sports splashing on that amazing win for Everton at Old Trafford in the Monday Night Football. The heated exchange between Idrissa Gueye and Michael Keane as the main image. It got physical. Gueye got sent off. They also report Michael Vaughan's criticism of England's Ashes plans. Yes, that first test was far too short, wasn't it? Done inside 2 days. The same two stories prominent on the back page of The Guardian. There's detail on the row between England's Tom Curry and the Argentina coach for the Contaponi. I will get to the papers and get Jackson Davis' thoughts in just a moment. Before we do, and we see how they're being covered, let's hear from David Moyes, because his Everton team played 77 minutes with 10 men at Old Trafford, but still won. Here's what Moyes said to Sky Sports.
I thought the referee could have maybe taken a little bit longer to think about it, maybe just gone over and sorted it, had a think about it. I'm sort of getting told the rules of the game means if you slap even your own player or you lift an arm in some way, then you could be in trouble. But there's another side of it. I quite like my players fighting each other and getting annoyed with each other because it was a bad ball or someone didn't do the right action. I think that's part of it. If you want a winning team and you want that resilience and the toughness which got us the result, then I think you have to have players who are going to act that way. And I'm disappointed we get the sending off, but everybody will tell you we've all been footballers, and the ones who have been will tell you that quite often, you'll get angry with your teammates.
Well, I mean, Everton won, so I do wonder whether that kind of coloured the answer slightly for David Moyes, because he likes seeing that kind of spirit in his squad. Before we get onto that bit, though, gents, Jack, let me start off with you. In the Daily Telegraph, moment of madness, Gueye sent off for slapping teammate Keane, but Everton still win. So Moyes said, it's in the laws of the game that if you do get physical, you do raise your hands, you've got to go. Essentially, I mean, it was bizarre, though, wasn't it?
It completely bizarre. It is, as the Telegraph say on the back there, a complete moment of madness. I'm sort of agreeing with David Moyes there, that, laws of the game and everything, and by the word of the law, it should be a red card. But half of refereeing is sort of feeling and managing the game and seeing how things are going. And it doesn't feel like a really aggressive moment that maybe deserves a red card. It's definitely not got the aggression of, Bowyer and Kieran Dyer and going way back Bruce Grobler and Steve McManaman. There's none of that sort of proper blood and thunder, anger there between them. Michael Keane keeps his resolve very well, and Gueye does have that one moment. I think the bigger problem that Moyes will have is that doing something like that, whether it's to one of your, especially to one of your teammates, but especially to an opponent as well, gives the referee the decision to make and puts the referee in that position where they have to make that sort of decision. I think that's the thing that Moyes will be more frustrated with, the sort of the loss of his head in that one moment to then put his team in a position where they have to defend like they did incredibly tonight and put his team at a disadvantage. He's very calm and collected after it there. I wonder if there were, it would have been amazing to be in that dressing room at half-time to see just how high he hit the roof. I saw him sort of jogging down the touchline at Old Trafford, probably to make sure he got in there before Michael Keane did and have a stern word with him. But yeah, I think it's one of those, it's the anger will be there because he's given the referee the decision to make by doing something so utterly needless in that moment.
Our esteemed producer on the show gave me a stat just about sort of 20 minutes ago, this from Opta, that United have lost a Premier League game at Old Trafford after seeing the opposition pick up a red card for the first time ever, because it had happened on 46 occasions that the opposition had lost a man in the game, but United had won 36 and drawn the 10 others. It just goes to show, if you're going to play against 10 men, a David Moyes coached 10 men is probably the worst 10 men you've got to face. David, do you think in a weird sort of way that sort of sparked Everton to sort of be the way they were and then going, got the winner after that, but just really, as Jack says, hold out magnificently after that?
Firstly, David, it was stupidity. Both of them reacted quite petulantly to a pretty innocuous incident at a stage of the game that was not particularly stressful for Everton. But thereafter, I do think it galvanised Everton on the evidence that we saw. There was a great sense of unity between the players. They were scrapping for their lives defensively. But they also showed a lot of attacking ambition and coherence going forward. I thought they thoroughly deserved the win, even though United obviously had much more of the possession at times owing to their numerical advantage. And I think David Moyes also had a point to prove. Such a poor record away to Man United, not a great record when he was Manchester United manager, and that would have been a particularly sweet victory for him. He's had a magnificent career, and this is a moment that he'll cherish. Manchester United were on a really good run as well. They'd won their last 3 home games. They were 5 unbeaten in total, and people were starting to talk about whether things were finally coming together for Ruben Amorim in what was, let's remember, his 1-year anniversary of the first game he took charge of for United. And that's a pretty painful defeat for them, especially now they've got to go away to Crystal Palace on Sunday. Everton will really have a spring in their step, especially given such a poor away record. I think it was just 1 win this season back on August the 30th against Wolves. And before that, it was way back in May at Newcastle last season. So a massively impressive display from those players who remained on the pitch. They can patch up their differences with Gana Gueye hereafter, and Moyes will be absolutely buzzing with that.
And of course, David Moyes finally getting a win at Old Trafford as a visiting manager, and Everton sitting just above Liverpool in the table. So lots of reasons for him to smile. I think also, along with Keane Dewsbury Hall's winner, Jack, a word for Jordan Pickford?
He was absolutely fantastic, wasn't he? He's a real leader for club and country. Some of the saves he made in there were superb reaction saves and really helping Everton get over the line. And I think the way he marshals his back four as well is just so impressive. He's someone that can get incredibly emotional, but is also superbly and supremely confident in his own ability and what he tells his defenders to do. You could see him there whenever they were having to defend corner after corner, picking people up, keeping them going. And also just that composure he showed in the moment with Keane and Gueye as well, to march Idrissa Gana Gueye away, push all of the other teammates away from him as well, not draw anyone else into it, get him down the tunnel and off the pitch as quick as possible. He sort of set the tone for everyone in that Everton side. And it wasn't just him in the back four. The players in the midfield, Iliman Ndiaye had a fantastic game. James Garner, Dewsbury Hall as well, an incredible goal. But just their work as a unit, Grealish there as well, all of the energy they put in, and you could see on their faces at the end the celebration. I think Jake O'Brien finished with blood pouring from his nose, which just showed how much they put into tonight and to getting that huge result. I think it's their first win as a club at Old Trafford since 2013. David Moyes has won there once before, I think, with West Ham in the Carabao Cup, and that did mean an awful lot to him. But to go and do it in the Premier League with Everton as well will be a huge moment for him, and one that he'll rightfully celebrate tonight as well.
More stats for you guys, again, courtesy of our esteemed producer on the show. The last time that Everton won at Manchester United, guess who was the Manchester United manager? David Moyes. There we are. What about Everton, though, David? Looking ahead now, into the run-up into Christmas, they've got some tough tests. Newcastle at home, of course, they've just beat Manchester City. They've got Chelsea, who are second. They've got Arsenal. I mean, even Forest at home. Forest have beaten Liverpool, so they've suddenly found a bit of a groove for Sean Dyche. Where do you see them in terms of the Premier League and the ultimate reckoning? So in that mid-table where they are currently, or can they aspire any higher?
Well, firstly, the Newcastle game is one they might not be too apprehensive about, given Newcastle's away record this season, and Newcastle will be coming off the back of an away trip in European football tomorrow night at Marseille. And I was really struck by what Dewsbury Hall said on Sky after the game about the shift in mentality at Everton now, and that was one of the reasons that attracted him to come to the club. Of course, there's a new stadium and new ownership as well that ties into that, but there just seems to be a freshness about the place after all their PSR setbacks and the struggles financially, but also against relegation season after season before leaving Goodison Park. And it became a narrative in recent years that were they going to go the other way? And before that, it was, can they compete for European football? They had Champions League ambitions. And slowly but surely, they do seem to be edging back up in the right direction, and I think they'd have their eye on a top half finish now. Jack talked through some of the players there, but there was huge quality on show tonight. It wasn't an agricultural performance. They were highly proficient with the ball at their feet and some of the patterns of play, despite only having 10 men. And I know we referred there to Pickford as being an emotional character. I think that was more historic. Now he seems to be composed, the maturity to separate the incident between his two teammates. For England, he's been near faultless as well. And it goes all the way through the team. The experience of Tarkowski and Keane, the talent from Ndiaye is just outrageous. He's going to be a real loss with the AFCON, but he's a magnificent player. And with Grealish having a point to prove, even Barry up front showing moments of quality today. And so suddenly they've got quality, they've got some depth. This is a team that came into the season with, I think, or finished last season with 12 players registered to the club through a combination of contracts expiring and players who it was just time to go, and it's absolutely fantastic to see them upwardly mobile again in a good financial position. But yeah, you're right, there's some tough fixtures coming up, but tonight will give them belief. They'll be emboldened that they can strive forward and be looking up the table rather than down.
OK, thank you very much indeed for the moment, chaps. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll look at more of the sports stories in the morning's papers. The Mirror also has plenty on their Everton win, and they also show Cole Palmer back in training with Chelsea after his toe injury. More on that next.
Now, Chelsea are hosting Barcelona tomorrow night in what is set to be an exciting Champions League encounter. Gary Cottrell is at the Chelsea training ground for us. We can go and join him live now. Afternoon, Gary. First of all, any sign of Mr. Cole Palmer?
Oh, what a week it is for Chelsea, not only second in the Premier League, not only coming up against the team above them in the Premier League on Sunday, but Barcelona in the Champions League tomorrow night. What a game that's going to be, and what a sight this is for Chelsea fans, because Cole Palmer injured his toe after those 2 months out with his groin injury. We were wondering whether or not he'd be out training with the rest of the team, and there he is in the middle of that group. Being congratulated, I think, for the fact that he is back in training. Not sure whether he'll do full training. He's got that special boot on over that little toe on his left foot, which he banged on a door one night last week, which Enzo Maresca said would put him out of this Barcelona match and the Arsenal match at the weekend. He said he was back training on grass, but wasn't sure when he'd be back training with the rest of the squad. Well, he is out there for these early stages, these warm-up stages that we're allowed to see ahead of Champions League nights. Whether or not he'll stay with that group when they start the training proper, when they have their
games, when they do the serious training, or whether or not he'll go off and do something by himself. We'll find out, hopefully, before the cameras have to leave, but he's certainly in that group, if we can make him out with the rest of the players, about to go off and do some runs. There he is, leading off the runs with the rest of the team. And we were asking Enzo Maresca at the news conference whether or not that special boot, which means he has got back into training earlier than expected, would mean that he could be involved. Against Barcelona, no, he said, but what about that game against Arsenal on Sunday?
We don't know when, but for sure will be soon. It's already on pitch. It's already touching the ball. So, and the feeling is good.
Could he even, with the help of that boot, be available to go toe to toe against Arsenal on Sunday?
We are here for tomorrow game. That is Champions League game, and then after that we're gonna start to think about Chelsea, Arsenal.
But you're not ruling it out, even though you're not talking about the Arsenal game today. Could still be a possibility.
I don't think so at the moment.
We're going to just get a bit more insight from you. We've heard from the club. Now there's been a few days since it happened. What happened? It was at night. He was getting up to go maybe to the toilet. I don't know, when he hit his toe. Do you know more details about what happened?
The last time I spoke about Cole was in the last press conference. And the last time I spoke with Cole was yesterday, just after the session, to ask how was his feeling. That, again, was good feeling. But I didn't ask him details about the injury at home.
Yes, so he's out there, isn't he? Looking like he's moving really freely. I was always sung a nursery rhyme when I was young about the feet on your toe. This little piggy went to market, this little piggy stayed at home, this little piggy had roast beef, this little piggy had none, and this little piggy, the little toe, went yes, 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 all the way back to training. And there he is, Cole Palmer, out there training. We asked Mark Cucurella at that same news conference whether he had any more insight about how Cole Palmer had done the injury. He said he certainly banged it on a door. He said he's banged his toe on the door a couple of times, but he's tougher than Cole Palmer, he laughed. And then he said he thinks he was celebrating winning a game of that football computer game that we're all very well aware of. Whether or not that's the true reason, because he was smiling when he said it, we're not sure. But certainly he's back out there, and at the moment, in these early stages, fully committed and fully involved in training.
Liverpool in crisis, but their manager, head coach Arne Slot, says, I am still the man for the job. Mark Ogden, let's start with you. It's 6 defeats now in 7 games for Liverpool. It was described as a blip in the middle of this run. Is it now a crisis?
It was a crisis before it became a crisis in terms of yesterday. Liverpool, that were the champions last season, they run away with the league, and they've had a terrible season. I think they're on course to probably be the worst defending champions in Premier League history. I think Jose Mourinho's Chelsea might be the one that hold that record, but that's the kind of form they're showing right now, and it's deep-seated. It's not just a case of the new signings haven't settled in. It's people like Canate at the back. Their form has just disappeared. You know, even Van Dijk, who, listen, every time they have a defeat, he comes out and talks about it, but on the pitch, his performances haven't been great. They've missed out at right back. They haven't got a right back, a functioning right back. Obviously, Trent Alexander-Arnold left last summer. So lots of problems have combined to leave them in this situation they're in right now. And yes, they spent over £400 million in the summer, but it's not made them any better. But I think we've all been a bit guilty of focusing on the players they brought in. I think it's also the players they've lost as well, the players that they've let go that they haven't been able to replace. Now, there's a great piece in the Telegraph by Chris Bascombe, Telegraph's Liverpool reporter. Chris has done Liverpool for years and years, and he's seen the highs and the lows. And he's really gone after Alexander Isak. He's basically made the point that people are now missing Darwin Núñez because at least he put some kind of effort in, made some runs, made things happen. Isak's doing none of that. So it just shows you that the players that have gone are being missed, their contributions being missed because the players that have come in haven't stepped up. And certainly Isak is one of the players that hasn't stepped up versus another one. So yes, it's definitely a crisis.
Jason, it says on that piece there that Slot insists, I am still the man for the job. Mark alluded to it there, the summer spend, close to £450 million. Is Arne Slot's job under threat? Should it be under threat?
It has to be eventually, doesn't it? I mean, we talk about crisis. I mean, I've been thinking for quite some time that they're in crisis, actually. I think, you know, I think a lot of people have been almost in denial about it. I think the situation is pretty dire. And, you know, at a club the scale of Liverpool, with their ambition and what they can achieve, then if a manager goes through this run of fixtures, this run of results, then he has to come under scrutiny himself. What's interesting is, went into the summer, Arne Slot obviously winning the league, wanting to put his print on the squad. He talking about maybe we were a little bit fortunate last season, we didn't create enough chances and played more expansive football. So him and Michael Edwards have overseen this massive overhaul of Liverpool, so he can't complain about anything, really. You know, he can't complain about injuries, he can't complain about squad depth. He's overseen this, so he has to take the responsibility for it. Clearly, his job is not under threat right now. But if this carries on, yes, of course his job will be under threat. It has to be. I mean, Liverpool are a huge football club. If it was Manchester United or Arsenal or Chelsea, it would be the same. And especially after the rebuild they've had in the summer way. As I say, you know, if this had happened last year, you could say Arne Slot hadn't had a chance. You know, he inherited a squad. He hasn't bought any players. You know, nothing's happened. Nothing's changed. We'd have a lot of sympathy for him. Because it's happened this year, with them being champions and having that massive overhaul, the scrutiny has to be on him.
Damn, can I just jump in on that? Obviously, talking about Slot and the pressure that he's under. In the summer, when they made all these signings, spent all this money and brought Isak and Ekitike, the praise being lavished on Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards was huge. Yeah. But now it's going wrong. It's Arne Slot's position on the line. Well, you know, how much does Arne Slot, you know, influence?
I think all three of them. All three of them have to.
But the focus only comes on the guy that's
because he's standing in front of the camera.
Exactly.
That's the thing. He's the manager.
And I do wonder how much of that recruitment was down to what he wanted, because obviously he wanted a centre half and they didn't get one. But it's almost like they went all Real Madrid. We've won the league, where one of the biggest clubs in the world. Well, let's sign all these superstar players, and they threw away the formula that's worked for so many years, and now the manager's, you know, position is on the line because of what happened behind the scenes.
And how significant that Margay deal not going through. I mean, obviously it's easy with hindsight, but I think even at the time, it was a slightly strange window, the prioritising of it. It was also a lot of churn for a team that just won the league. And you might say, well, that's good, that's progressive, we're not resting on our laurels. But it was a lot. And it felt like he wanted to almost make his mark. It all happened back to front, because we're used to managers coming in and often in their first summer, they'll make a lot of signings or make a lot of changes. He actually didn't. You know, that his first summer window, there weren't a lot. It was kind of Klopp's group, which then won the league. And then there's been all sorts of change. And I do think, you know, players like Trent going, Robertson's not quite what he was. You know, if you think how important those two fullbacks were to the teams that were winning the league and the Champions League, they were absolutely pivotal. That is a lot of change in one summer. And, you know, Slot might argue, well, you know, that takes time. The problem is, as the champions, you're not going to get that time. And, you know, Mark, you mentioned that Mourinho season, which is kind of the benchmark for a terrible title defence. Well, Mourinho was gone by that December, which would have seemed similarly impossible going into that season as it would have done, you know, to think that Slot's under pressure now.
This might be controversial, but I think, looking at it, I think they wanted to almost move on from Klopp's team, and they almost wanted to put their own stamp on it, that they wanted their own team. That team that won the league last season was Klopp's team. They won it with Klopp's team. And it's almost like Michael Edwards, Richard Hughes, Arne Slot once said, now we're going to have, this is our Liverpool now. And they've almost tried to move it on, as Charlie says. I think they moved it on. We all expected them to make a lot of signings in the summer, but not when it kept going and going and going. You're thinking, wow, when is this going to stop? And then the one they really needed, and it's obviously hindsight, it's a wonderful thing, but Mark Gahey, I just can't believe they didn't get that deal done, especially with Konate going into the final year of his contract and probably going. You're just depending so much on two players. And one, obviously, the captain,
one who's injury prone anyway,
who's older. You know, he's doing very well, Van Dijk, but he's getting older. And you look at it and think, why have you left yourself in such a vulnerable position in that key area of the pitch?
Just on what Charlie said there about the benchmark being that Chelsea title defence. Statistically, this is not the worst title defence, but is it the most surprising that we've seen, do you think?
Oh, absolutely, because, you know, Liverpool were so convincing last season, and they strengthened their attacking outlets. We thought they were going to coast it to the title. I think
they won their first 5 games.
Yeah, the first 5 games.
Well.
I think they weren't as good as the results suggested, but they certainly weren't as bad as they had become. But that Chelsea team, I think you were probably at the game, actually. I remember being at Leicester.
The Leicester game away, yeah.
In December, when that was Mourinho's last game. But the difference there was that Mourinho basically, it turned toxic, hadn't it?
Yeah.
It was classic Mourinho. He kind of lost the players, he was slagging everybody off. That hasn't happened with Arne Slot. Arne Slot is a much different position than Jose Mourinho. So
different character as well.
I do remember as well, that season as well, it started right at the beginning. That was the Eva Carneiro draw at home, and even I remember going into that season, there was a lot of complaining about their summer business, same as Conte going into 2017-18. So at least were foreseeable in that sense, that there was a bit of discontent. Whereas, we had none of that. This summer going in, it was, yes, Gay didn't happen, but basically what we've been saying was they won the league. Remember, they beat Arsenal just before the window closed, and it was like sign of champions. They've gone, they're playing badly, but they're winning games. And that was really interesting. After those 5 games, everyone was kind of saying, they're winning every game, but they haven't really played well once this season. And either that's the sign of champions because they're going to kick into gear
or it won't last.
And what happens when they play well. Or, yes, it won't last, and this is slightly papering over the cracks, and wow, it's been the latter. But I don't think anyone's thought it would, unravel to this extent.
Mark, you mentioned it before about the players that have come in, and are they completely to blame, or the players that are actually there at the moment? Andy Dunn, in his piece in the Daily Star on Sunday, summer spend a growing concern. He said, with just over 20 minutes remaining, £165 million worth of talent sat down and put its coat on. If Anfield wanted a snapshot of Liverpool's early season troubles, then they need not have looked any further than the sight of Isak and Kerkez walking to the dugout, their team stumbling to a 6th Premier League defeat of the season. And I think you mentioned it there before, when we're not used to seeing a title-winning team almost revolutionise rather than evolve. And it feels like it's been revolution rather than evolution in the summer, hasn't it?
Yeah, look, you can actually see why they did it. Because obviously Trent was going, so they had to replace him at right back. They brought in Frimpong. Van Dijk and Salah, they gave new contracts to, but they're obviously players that have got probably their best days behind them. So there's a transition that needs to happen. They've just done it too quickly. They've done too much. 6 out, 6 in. And obviously we can't overlook the tragedy of Diogo Jota, because that is something that is hanging over Liverpool, obviously this season. But they've just done too much. And I think it's led to a situation where Liverpool in the past have been not fortunate, because you make your own looking at it in recruitment, but most of their signings have done well. This time it goes to show that you might spend a lot of money, but they don't always work out. I mean, Man City at the start of their journey were fantastic in terms of buying the right players in. Man United, the other way, 10 years ago, post-Ferguson, spent a lot of money and made a lot of mistakes. Maybe Liverpool's luck has run out a little bit. Maybe they're making more mistakes. Kerkez doesn't look ready for Liverpool right now. But he looks a great prospect at Bournemouth, but he's not made the step up. Frimpong, when he's been fit, which is not very often, hasn't looked able to defend. So Ekitike has been great, but then Isak hasn't been great. Wirtz has looked well out of his depth. So maybe they've made the wrong signings. Maybe what's happened at Liverpool is they spent a lot of money and they're not getting the money's worth out of it, and they might not do, because these players might not ultimately succeed.
Jason, I just want to look at Rory Smith's piece in The Observer, because just picking up on what Mark said there, he says, look, Slott's attempts to change the way his team plays have failed to such an extent that they've now, it would seem, forgotten even how to make the tried and trusted shape that delivered success last season. Are they in that awkward falling in between two kinds of systems, with the players that he trusted last season to the ones that he believes in and spent so much money on in the summer?
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. And I think it's more that it's Klopp's team, as I say. I think it's Klopp's team that he inherited. It's that kind of classic, if it ain't broke, don't try and fix it sort of approach. And he got a lot of credit for that, almost like the sort of gentle hand on the tiller, and that worked a lot. But it was quite interesting at the end of that last season that he was talking about how lucky he thought they were in a way. They were winning games, weren't creating enough chances. He wanted more attacking and open football. But to transition quite so quickly, and you talk, say for example, the full-backs, Frimpong and Kerkez, 2 attacking full-backs, effectively wingers, really. Yeah. You brought in 2 attacking full-backs. Why not just the one? And obviously Frimpong was brought in as cover for Salah as well, but now they're talking about maybe signing another forward player. And you're thinking, well, hang on a minute, didn't you spend enough on the forward players? I think you sign Ekitike or Isak, you don't buy them both. And I think at one point they should have just walked away from that. So I almost felt like they were flexing their muscle, and were obviously enjoying doing that over the summer. And I think the desire to get their own stamp on it, as I say, kind of overrode the kind of reality of like, well, hang on a minute, maybe we're losing identity. The best performances they put in this season have been with the last season's team. Let's be honest, that they've been the best performances, and that says something. You've got a very strong group of players there who are probably also wondering what's going on. They're probably wondering why we're changing quite so quickly, and that's caused a bit of instability as well. So you've got these 2 centre-halves. Look at it, I'm not a coach, but you've got these 2 centre-halves, Konate and Van Dijk, and 2 flying full-backs, and you just leave them exposed all the time. It's like,
from the very first game of the season.
Isn't it kind of obvious?
Remember they beat Bournemouth?
I was there.
Yeah, and it was...
You're looking at it thinking, like, you're flying forward, there's so much space in behind. Semenyo was running in behind every time. You're thinking, like, I'm not a coach. Yeah, I'm not a coach, but I can see that.
I do think another really interesting element to this is the Salah of it all, because I've long felt there will come a point where Salah becomes an almost Cristiano Ronaldo-like problem for Liverpool, because there is always going to come a point at which he stops scoring every game. And when he does stop scoring every game, you're left with a superstar player who isn't going to track back. He's not going to do any of that stuff. But that's fine, as long as he's, as long as he's got this incredible output, and they've got the structure and all of that. I feel like we're kind of at that point. And what do you do as a manager? You're then in a really hard position, because you know if you don't play him or take him off, it becomes this massive story. But is that the best for the team?
There might be an outball for Slot, because the African Nations is coming up next year. Salah will go, and he's probably gone for a month, and that could really help. That could be the moment that actually changes Liverpool's season, because all of a sudden Isak, Ekitike, Wirtz, it's on them then. They can't suddenly look to Salah as the talisman.
I agree with that. I think they've almost got to make it Wirtz's team now. Yeah. You know, it looks like we've got to move from Salah's team to Wirtz's team. If you bought this player for all this money in that role, and they haven't used him properly yet, have they? And obviously, it's going to take. I think, to be fair to him in particular, actually, I think it will take a little bit of time. Yeah. And I think people are very quick to judge. We're all guilty of that. But I think with him in particular, if you're going to buy him, you've got to build it around him. They haven't done that, because they're still Mohamed Salah's team, aren't they?